Welcome back, everybody, to Apron Bumps. It's episode 21. This is an odd one where there was no predictions, but we're gonna do a review. So it's myself and Mr. Gabe Nozid here to review, in what was my opinion, the best AEW pay-per-view of the year. So considering that they didn't have a normal crowd like they did at Revolution, and considering how good Double or Nothing was for a pandemic show, that should say quite a bit of the quality of this pay-per-view. So I've been busy with university stuff, so I haven't quite been able to keep up with the YouTube schedule like I was doing in the spring and summer, but this show was so fantastic that I felt I couldn't not review it. So it's only been about like half a week since it aired, so it's not that late. Might as well get our thoughts out there. I've seen some people posting reviews in the last day or so, so we're going to give a little review as well. Gabe has also been busy and needed to take some extra time to watch the show. First time being on since we reviewed Balor and O'Reilly in that whole TakeOver show. This is, I think, the first time.
That was a great show.
Yeah, that's the first time we've been on since then, and I thought this show was a lot better than that one. So, so we got a lot to talk about here. How have you been since the last time we did this shindig?
Well, I think I was still in Texas at the time, but now I'm back home. I have a whole new setup. I really don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I want to make something, either videos, music. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna make something with my new like I have a gaming PC, so I can do a lot with this stuff. So it's my first time really using this microphone, using these sound foams and everything. So I'm just excited what to do with these tools now, and I'm excited to review what's it called, Full Gear. I really didn't expect this to be like a smack like out of the park show, but it was
really
surprisingly. Yeah,
you didn't expect it to be.
Card.
I was. On paper that card looked fantastic to me.
Other than one match, I was only looking forward to one match, and that match did not disappoint at all, which was the tag team match with Young Bucks and the Revival, because that was literally in the making for years. So I had to watch it, and I'm not disappointed by the show at all, and we'll get to those matches whenever we do. So okay,
so you looked at that card and thought it was just kind of meh? Really? I'm curious about that.
I know Eddie Kingston, but I'm like, I don't think he's had enough time. I mean, I know he's really great in the mic, but I just didn't think he was, it was his time for the world title yet. I feel like they should have built him up more to invest in, and I mean, I knew he was gonna lose because he didn't get much, screen time like that. So.
Well, he was a filler challenger for the pay-per-view because they were setting up the world title Eliminator winner. So you had to kind of have a guy just go in there and lose to Moxley. They had to find a filler guy, and they wanted to do Archer on television, so they looked at Eddie Kingston, and I guess like they were interested in continuing him and Moxley doing a promo battle for an extra month for the pay-per-view, and they went with him. So
I feel like, because I'm a big Eddie Kingston fan, so I just really wanted him to, make me feel like, oh, he's gonna win for sure. But I just knew for sure that, Moxley was so unbeatable. He wasn't gonna lose to.
No, he's. I think like no matter no matter who you put in there, if like the world title Eliminator tournament winner was going to be happening at this show, and Moxley's probably is definitely gonna do something with them. It might be the end of his title reign when it comes to that. So you had to get somebody for the pay-per-view. And even if it was anybody else, if it was like, I don't know, they decided to do Lance Archer on this pay-per-view, or they decided to do somebody else, you knew whoever was going to be Moxley's challenger for this show was just going to lose, no matter who it was.
Yeah, of course.
So, at least like you got some good television of Kingston and Moxley ripping each other on the mic, and that was pretty cool going into the show. And I mean, we'll get to the match when we get to it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. So we should break down this here card. We're going to do that right now. So the card actually opened off with, of all things, the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament Final. So through the weeks, we've had some matches. Rey Fenix originally beat Penta El Zero, whatever they decided to make his name. I don't know why I don't know why they keep making his name super long. Like it's like Pentagon Jr. is easy to say.
Yeah, I think that's Pentagon.
Is it? Well, he's making his name too wacky. It's too long, and they got to just call him like Penta or something easy, Jeez, like Phoenix is Phoenix, So Phoenix originally won, but he got hurt in the match because, you know, he does crazy stuff, and sometimes when you're a high flyer, things happen. Just look at Rey Mysterio and his leg over the... I know. Crazy, right? Yeah. So he got hurt, and so Penta ended up being put in his position and got like won by forfeit, and so... But we all know that like this was built to do Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page in the final. Like we know that that's what this was leading to, and that's fine. Like we knew that was coming, and so that's what it led to. Omega ended up beating Penta in the semifinal. Wardlow beat Jungle Boy to make it to the semifinal. Hangman Page beat Colt Cabana to go to the next round. Hangman Page ends up beating Wardlow to make it to the final, and it is Page and Omega at the pay-per-view, and it opened the show, and I was surprised it was going on so early, but there's a reason that they put it on early, because they wanted to have perhaps the hottest opening match of the year. Now, I was also a big fan of the Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic match at TakeOver Portland in February. I thought that was a fantastic opener as well. That's probably the only one in contention with this one, but I don't think I'm going on the record here saying that this could be... I think AEW's best opening match that they've had on any pay-per-view ever thus far. I think it might be their best pay-per-view opener they've done. In their small history. What's that?
I wasn't expecting this to be open. So
I know.
Like, it
was a surprise.
So, like, stunned, like, when I heard about this being the opener, and then I saw it, and we all know that this is one of the best openers of the year.
It's definitely one of the, if not the best opener of the year, and it's definitely AEW's best. So, like, even, again, the only thing that I could compare it to is Keith Lee and Dijakovic back in February, but this might have been better than that, or at least, like, on par. So, it kind of felt like just a regular Kenny Omega New Japan match. Now, granted, it was a little shorter. It was only a little over 16 minutes, I think, but, like, these guys worked hard.
Yeah. It felt like a G1 match.
It did.
I'm used to watching his like G1 matches and whatever in New Japan, so it just felt like a good. Because the G1, it's supposed to like give us little teasers on like, hey, what if this wrestler had a feud with this wrestler, and then with the crowd reacting, then New Japan would be like, okay, we gotta do a program with these guys. So this felt like this Omega and Page like feud. It's gonna go on for a while, and that's a good thing because I was very pleased, but it left me wanting more. Like,
well, that's what it was supposed to do, and I will go into why it was supposed to do that after we kind of talk about the match itself. So it's kind of like it starts on a decent pace. Like any match, it kind of starts off with the feel out process because two competitors they haven't wrestled one-on-one on AEW television before. They've done it on they did it in Japan. They had maybe I think they did it in New Japan. Dontaku or whatever, they had like a singles match like almost 2 years ago now or something like that. But they've never had a one-on-one match in All Elite. This was their first one-on-one in All Elite, so they have the old feel-out process. Early on, Omega kind of gets the advantage, and he goes for his big dive, and then Page just immediately jumps in the ring and cuts him off with a big boot. That was pretty good. So then Kenny sells for a bit. There was a point in the match where Kenny also, I don't know if you remember this, but he went for some sort of he went for like it was kind of like you remember Mr. Kennedy's old finish where he would like have somebody on their shoulders and jump from the top rope. Now Kenny so like Kenny does a version of that where he doesn't go from the top rope, but he just kind of does it in the ring. And it seemed like he kind of landed awkwardly and he fell because of it.
That was his version of more bang for your buck because.
Oh, was it? Okay, because I remember it was like
Yeah, he does that. That's one of his signature moves. He just does that and then a moonsault. So it was interesting that he was selling like he's the best at selling what's it called, subtle like injured body parts because I hate matches where they just continuously go over the.
But what's funny is like clearly that slip was not supposed to happen. Like it was very much a botch. But he's so good he covered for it and sold it because he's like, well, everybody just probably thinks that I blew out my knee. Now, granted, thankfully he didn't, but he thought on his feet and said, well, I'm going to sell this now. And he took a really long time to go for the moonsault, which when you're injured, of course you're not going to go for a moonsault right away. and he did end up going for it. I think he hit it, and Paige kicked out. But you gotta enjoy that. So he knew he messed up, but he was so good that he covered for it, and it actually added to the match quality. Imagine that. Imagine messing up one of your spots, covering for it, and somehow the match is better for the mess up. That's crazy, because I was concerned for a bit. When he did not stick that landing, I thought, oh god, if that guy's knee's out, this whole match is messed. Because it was very early on. It was like, I want to say like 5-10 minutes into it, and then he ended up being alright, because he didn't actually get hurt, but he sold it like he was, and that's what pro wrestlers are supposed to do. So I give Kenny Omega credit on that one.
I saw something like that was like years ago when AJ was still in New Japan. I think he had a indie show in America. He slipped on the ropes, but he worked that on, like, I forgot how, but I just remember, like, I don't remember any wrestler like botching, but like so subtly that he worked it into the story of the match. So that's
AJ though.
Yeah, they're both great at what they do. So I'm not surprised that both Bullet Club members they know what they're doing. So
these guys were very stiff too. They laid their shit into each other. There was a moment where Kenny tried to get some space on the outside, and Hangman and Kenny gets some space on the outside. He goes to the top rope. Hangman meets him there and hits a big, giant, massive superplex for a 2 count. Of course, Kenny Omega manages to kick out. Kenny once again ends up on the outside, and this is where they have a bit of a chop brawl. They throw each other into the barricade. Hangman he throws him into like the little spot that separates the little dasher board things, and then Paige chops him, keeps throwing him into the barricade type things, the full gear barricades with the pay-per-view name on. He throws him into this like a couple of times, just beats him down. Then he goes for it another time, and Kenny is able to counter into a moonsault. So Omega's been thrown into this thing a couple times. Just Irish whip into the little barricade thing, the advertisement barricade. The full gear barricade gets whipped into it 3 times, and then on the 4th time when Paige tries to do it again, Omega leaps onto said barricade and delivers a moonsault in one fluid motion. And of course, both guys sell after that as well. Paige has now been stunned. His momentum has been cut off. So Kenny throws him back into the ring, as any good wrestler should. And that's when he catches him with the big overhead bulldog. I forget what he calls it, but it's like the big, it's kind of like, almost like Zack Ryder's finish, but it's a bulldog.
Hikaru crusher.
Yeah, that's what he calls it. I knew it was some Japanese name, but he hits Paige with that. He gives Paige some time to recover because he's recovering from the move. And Paige goes to the ropes. They start chopping the shit out of each other in the center of the ring once again. They were stiff. Like both Kenny's and his chest were beat red after that. Then after this point was the moonsault that Kenny hit after, of course, selling the leg when he slipped on the one move. And so then they stall and take their time. Kenny holds him in a headlock for a while. Paige kind of tries to fight out of it. It's kind of a slow period because Kenny's selling his hurt knee. They kind of pick up the pace again. Kenny with a big boot. Paige off the ropes and ends up... He gains the advantage, and Kenny tries to like sidestep him to the outside. And then Paige hits a big springboard lariat on Kenny, who's on the apron, and knocks him to the floor. It's not quite the buckshot, but it's like one of Paige's like big. It's like one of his comeback moves. He'll springboard and then hit a big clothesline, and that sends Kenny to the outside. So of course Kenny is selling on the outside. Paige now has the advantage and misses a crossbody to the outside, which leads to Omega getting the little basement drop kick, and then finally Omega is able to hit his big, over-the-top, massive tope. Or it's like a helo, really. It's like a flip helo to the outside. That big dive that he's known for takes Paige out, and both guys are selling it because that is a big tumble to be taking in the pay-per-view opener. But Omega, since he was the aggressor, has the advantage, throws Paige back into the ring, and once again he scales the top rope, and he hits a beautiful missile drop kick. I still think Io's got a better one, but still a nice missile drop kick from Kenny nonetheless. He's now 100% in control of the match, and so he's struggling to get a suplex on. He's going for what's again? They have a special. Are they dragon suplexes? The double under. Yeah. The basically you put a guy in a full Nelson and.
Yeah. And And then, it's a dragon.
He's trying to go for the dragon. Paige busts out of it. He goes for it again. Paige is able to counter. And then Paige, with all the gall in the world, uses his strength to try and lift Kenny up for his own finish. Tries to hit him with the one-winged angel, but Omega is able to power out. This guy ain't hitting me with my own move. And after that, he goes to... Paige goes outside to give himself some more space, and then Kenny kind of rushes at him, and then Paige kind of kicks him away. And on doing so, Omega is able to hit a V-trigger on Paige when he thought he had some time to recover. So he kind of hit Kenny a bit. Kenny kind of like shrugged it off and hit him with a V-trigger. Now Paige is kind of laying on the outside ramp. Then Kenny goes for a dive, and Paige is able to counter it, and he goes for a powerbomb. Kenny uses his power to not get powerbombed and instead says, fuck it, I'm going to try and give you a powerbomb. But Paige is able to fight out of that as well. And from that point on, Paige throws Omega into the ropes that are in front of them and is, in fact, able to powerbomb Kenny Omega on the ring, or on that ring ramp. Very rough bump for Kenny to be taken. Yeah.
That was brutal. It was a pop-up.
It was kind of like Kevin Owens' pop-up powerbomb, wasn't it? And so what does Paige do after that? But he goes into the ring and delivers another one of them between the ropes.
Oh, no.
Another pop-up. Boom. 1-2, kick out from Kenny. By this point, the crowd's really starting to really, like, and there's only, 1,000 people in the building, and by this point in the match, they're really starting to come alive, because this is where the guys start kind of trading it's the modern wrestling thing of let's hit each other with our traditional non-finish moves. Let's hit all our big shit, but not the biggest shit. That sequence was about to come up. So the fans are kind of getting really behind this thing here after the two power bombs, and that Kenny was, in fact, able to kick out of A, being power bombed on the ring ramp, and B, being power bombed immediately after between the ropes. Big dramatic kick out there. Both guys are selling at this point because, my God, they're really giving everything in this period of time. Just full throttle. Kenny is able to recover just long enough for Paige to actually hit him with a stiff forearm. So he ran and got immediately snuffed out. But Kenny is a professional and is able to keep his ground and hit the Tiger Driver 98 for another quick 2 count. As I said, this is where we begin to hit our big traditional moves that aren't finishes. He hit a perfect Tiger Driver there. Kenny is now starting to feel it. Paige is on the defensive. And Omega is able to kind of weather the storm and hit a suplex, a German, that is. And Hangman immediately kind of bounces back and hits another forearm. Lands on his feet, hits the forearm, but Kenny also lands on his feet from a suplex attempt and hits Paige with a forearm of his own. And that's when Kenny starts hitting the dragon suplexes, but Paige kind of does the old Superman thing where he gets hit with the dragon suplex, but then kind of rolls back and pops up holding his neck and does the whole slight Hulk up thing, like I'm hurting, but I'm not going to sell. That whole thing. He hits him with that. And then afterward, he is able to power Kenny up for the Deadeye. Hits the Deadeye. It's a very, very close 2 count. Kenny is able to kick out. Crowd is going completely insane for this match by this point. Both guys are selling. They've been going freaking nonstop for well over 10 minutes by this point. But Paige wants to finish this, and he goes for the buckshot lariat. Kenny able to counter into a crucifix, but Paige kicks out. A crucifix type pin. Paige, once again, he really wants to hit that buckshot lariat. He wants to hit his finishing move. Kenny kind of cuts him off with a dragon screw. And Paige is selling the leg. But hey, despite having a hurt leg, Paige still ends up going for it, and he misses. Kenny hits 2 V triggers in a row, and then he lifts Paige up, and he's trying to set him up for the one-winged angel. Paige fights and fights and fights. Kenny loses grip, but just somehow powers through and keeps holding Paige there. He doesn't fully lose a hold of him on his shoulders. And with all the strength he has, in the position that he has Paige in, he hits him with it anyway. So Paige fought and fought and fought, but Kenny just held him there. Hits him with the move, pins him 1, 2, 3. Fantastic opening match.
There's
Absolutely.
That's the best part. Like
oh yeah, this is just the beginning. Like it was shorter than you would expect, but it still felt fine for an opening match amount of time. You got a clean finish. There was no bullshit shenanigans. Just two guys who wanted to challenge for the world title, gave it their all, a sprint for over 16 minutes. You had a guy win clean, and it's a part of a longer redemption story for Hangman. He might go on a bit of a losing streak now. He might be, again, beginning to lose more confidence. He's lost all his friends. He's lost his tag team titles. He just lost what he probably believes to be his final shot at the World Championship. And he feels defeated. And it's probably going to be a long-term story where eventually, due to this tournament win, I'm not going to spoil the main event, but until we get to it, but I think Kenny Omega, due to this tournament win, will win the World Championship when he gets his one-on-one title shot. And I think he holds it to do the honors to finally put Hangman over as the main event superstar. And that will be eventually sometime in 2021 when Hangman Page eventually earns his way back at a shot for the world title. Omega's the champion, and Omega will eventually do the honors to Hangman sometime in 2021. So they're going to meet again. This is just the beginning. And you kind of know where it's going, but you're fine with it because it is the right thing to do. Hangman's got a ton of momentum. He was getting over huge before the pandemic. His character has stayed over huge, and people are still loving him, despite the fact that there aren't usual crowds. They clearly know that he's a main event superstar. He's a young guy to build around as far as baby faces are concerned. He's got the best character, most likable character of any babyface in AEW today. Fully developed character. He's great in the ring, and he's a guy people were naturally getting behind when they were doing packed arenas, and they know long term that there's a lot of value in him as the world champion. It may take a long time to get there, but mark my words, Hangman Page will become AEW World Champion, and the story arc will finish sometime in 2021. What is your analysis on this whole match and where you see maybe the Hangman Kenny thing going forward, Gabe?
I can't disagree with you. Whatever you said was true. They're building. If they're gonna build Adam Page up to take the belt from Kenny, if he were to beat Moxley, that's definitely what's written on the walls. But it should be the way to go for these characters, for Moxley, for Omega, for Page. That's just the best way to build up their superstars or their wrestlers there. So I think that is the way to go. What your prediction is, and I can't disagree anymore. And this match was, like you said, one of the best opening matches, or might have been the opening match of the year. So it's for me, that's a 2 thumbs up in my opinion.
Oh yes, this is definitely a 2 thumbs up match to say the absolute least. I loved it, and I just had a feeling when it was done that the show was going to keep up the consistent quality. I just had a feeling of it. It was just one of those moments where you just felt like, I didn't feel like, at times when there's a match that great, you wonder how the fuck the rest of the card is going to follow it, and you don't have any hope that like it's the consistency is going to keep up. You know what I mean?
That's how I felt like for the next match after this.
Oh yeah, I felt about that for the next match, but I didn't feel about that for the whole rest of the card. Like I was like, there's still a few things that might be this quality as well. But like I didn't think, like, again, I kind of maybe felt so much. But again, we'll talk about Orange coming up because there's a lot I have to say about that positively, believe it or not.
Me too.
But I thought, like, okay, there's a few more matches that I have full confidence in that are going to be at least this great, if not a little worse. But it's still, I think there's going to be a couple more great matches. I think this is going to be a consistently great show, and this, I mean, they're trying real hard to set the bar, and they did. And that leads us to the next match of the show, which originally, everybody, this was supposed to be the buy-in match. This was going to be the match that was going to be on for free on YouTube and the social media things to get people to, buy the pay-per-view. But on the go-home show of Dynamite this week, they announced an NWA Women's Championship match with Serena Deeb defending the title. I think she defended against Allison Kay. I didn't see it, but I know that was on the buy-in. And they bumped.
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, I heard it was really good too. I missed it. I ended up just watching the show when it started because schoolwork, everybody. Schoolwork. I took as much time as I could to study and write some stuff, and then I tuned in at 8 o'clock. So Orange Cassidy versus John for Silver made it to the main card. They bumped it up to the pay-per-view. I think it was on the Go Home Dynamite this week. Just days before the pay-per-view, they put it on the main card. And I was like, yeah, it's because they really value Orange. They think he's too much of a great character to keep off the pay-per-view. But, like, it's just going to be comedy. Like, this is just going to be comedy filler. I don't know if it's going to get a whole lot of time. It's going to be what it is. And what it was two guys showing how fucking athletic they are. To my unbelievable surprise. It was a fast-paced wrestling match. Now, at the beginning, it had the moments of, Orange going for his pockets taunt, and then John Silver just gets pissed and rips the pockets out of Orange's pants, so he can't, I guess he can't use them. But, like really, if you're going to rip the whites out of the pockets, he could still put his hands in the empty jeans. Really, he could do that, but
he, like, covered the holes.
maybe Orange needs the whites in there for it to feel complete. Maybe he needs that fleecy feeling instead of feeling rough jeans or something. Maybe just the whites being out of the pocket means you can't do it anymore. I'm like, even though they're ripped out, there's still holes in your pants, still got pockets. But I don't think I really think I think he sold the ripping. I don't think he did the taunt at all again after he got his the whites ripped out.
He sold the rip. Like, he can't put his hand through some holes, like.
Now, again, you may be thinking that this is 100% comedy, which it's fine, but that was pretty well it. It's like when Orange's gimmick was taken from him, he realized he had to wrestle. He couldn't use the pockets as effectively, so he wrestled. And boy, I guess they must have had matches before because they had decent chemistry in this match. I think they said that they'd wrestled on the independent circuit before, and man, you could tell. So, at the beginning, Orange hits all his usual spots. It's all like the Hurricane Rana in the pockets, the kip up with the pockets, all that sort of stuff until, of course, John Silver gets angry and rips them out. And Paige, Orange, rather, sells the rip. But John Silver was celebrating like he won like a trophy when he ripped those out. And he threw them into the crowd, does some posing, shows his muscles. He's a small dude, but he's built. I'll give him that much. He is in fantastic shape. Beals Orange across the ring like he's Brody Lee. Just tossed a little Orange across, and it's crazy because Orange Cassidy is taller than John Silver. Everybody, he's taller than him. But like Silver, I guess.
A lot of us are taller than John Silver. He's 5'4".
Yeah, okay, then I'm taller than him, and I'm not all that tall of a person, okay? But, like, I guess he's got power because he bealed Orange from, like, one corner of the ring to the next. No kidding. Then he bealed him to the opposite end and gave pretty much Orange Cassidy launched just as far. He stomps him and, like, chokes him in the corner. The referee counts. Irish whip into the corner. Orange kind of fights out of it. Orange goes for that Orange DDT, but John snuffs it out with his power. It's that spinning DDT that Orange Cassidy's hit on pretty much everybody. He goes to hit it on John Silver, and John Silver says, I'm too powerful to get hit with this wacky spinning DDT. So he lifts him out of the DDT position and does like a standing vertical. It's beautiful in one fluid motion. I thought that was very impressive. Very, very impressive. Orange kicks out. And he sells the neck because he just got dominated with a suplex. Silver takes advantage of this and just kind of poses. Once again, he flexes those muscles. He's stalking Orange. Pointing to the crowd saying, how you cheering for Orange now? Just kind of taunting, doing his thing. He's a villainous fourth member of the Dark Order. Continues with the Irish whips into the corner. Orange is selling and selling and selling. Silver goes for a cover. Orange Cassidy is kicking out, but he's selling because he's getting beaten down. He's got some adversity. Once again, Silver with Irish whips into the corner. Orange's back is killing him by this point, but Silver stays on the attack, and then he actually throws him into the corner again, and Orange Cassidy kind of does a Shawn Michaels bump. Just kind of flips over it and almost falls to the outside. He's hanging onto the apron, and at this point, going to the apron is what actually saves Orange Cassidy. Because at this point, he starts throwing John Silver face first into the turnbuckles from one end to the other. And from that, he was able to hit a crossbody from the top, is able to eventually hit that spinning Orange DDT for a quick 2 count. Isn't enough to put Silver away. Now Orange is wondering what he should do. He goes to the top rope, but Silver cuts him off. And at this point, Silver is trying to hit a superplex from the top rope. Orange fights out of it. Orange pushes him from the top. He positions himself on the top rope, but Silver ends up countering and kicks him in the head, and he gorilla presses him into the ropes. And then he runs and hits a big knee to the skull. And then he kind of hits like he lifts him up for like a torture rack type slam. But in mid-motion, Orange Cassidy is actually able to counter this torture rack slam into a flying Hurricane Rana of his own. It was crazy. It was a crazy counter. Perfectly done. Nobody messed up anything. And that's a lot of coordination to be like, coordinating that move into the other. I was very impressed with that. After this, he hits a Michinoku driver. Orange does, that is, and John Silver is able to kick out. Orange is kind of pumping himself up. He's feeling it. After the Michinoku driver, he signals for the end, but John Silver is able to counter out of it with some stiff kicks. He poses for a bit, but that's to his own discredit because Orange does the old Orange kip up. And now he's Angry Orange and ends up going and ends up making a bit of a comeback of sorts. He goes for a quick backslide pin on Silver. Silver's able to counter out of it into kicks of his own. Orange with the what's he calls it, the stun dog millionaire. It's like a sliced bread stunner hybrid move.
No, you counter a suplex with a stunner.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, I know that there's a flip involved and a stunner on the way down.
Mark Andrews' move. He called it the Stun Dog Millionaire.
Well, that's what Excalibur called it on commentary. So that's all I remember.
So I guess it's I guess that's its name now.
Yeah. I guess it's just if some names stick for moves, they just end up sticking, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the name just stood out to me when Excalibur said it on commentary. I'm like, that's actually a pretty clever name. So he goes for Silver ends up snuffing out Orange's comeback again, and he goes for a bit. He actually hits the big torture rack slam, and Orange got so much air off of that spin, just lands hard on his back.
At first, I was impressed with the single arm gorilla press, but the torture rack slam, he went. Oh man, Orange Cassidy.
He flew.
Rotations. He could have been a propeller for.
I think he did a full propeller spin. I think he spun fully before he hit the ground. It was crazy, absolutely crazy.
For being 5'4", that man's crazy strong.
Yeah. I what a performance for John Silver that this match was. Even in loss, which we'll get to, but I was sold on him. I'm like, if you push him, he could probably take the ball and run with it. If you want to give him more of an opportunity, because he showed a lot in this match.
He did. I'm not gonna lie, I did not know anything about this match or John Silver. All I know is it's gonna be a squash for Orange, I bet, and I wasn't too wrong, but he showed John Silver showed what he's got.
Yeah,
in this match.
let's
on pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view, no less. So a great time to do it. This was and as you said, the one-armed gorilla press, which I kind of skimmed over, but yes, he basically did. He held Orange Cassidy up by one arm, and basically threw him into the ropes. And it was literally he was holding him up with one arm.
And again, I mean, to ruin the mystique of it, Orange Cassidy was supporting himself with two hands on Silver's shoulder.
I mean, he's helping make the match look great. It takes two to tango. So credit to Orange for doing that. But if it was to put over John Silver as somebody to watch, well, then they did the right thing there, because that was impressive, and I know a lot of people were talking about it after it happened. And afterwards, they do some more stuff. Orange is able to counter. I love this because Orange was able to duck out of Silver's attempt at Brody Lee's finish. So John Silver went for the discus lariat. Orange was able to duck out of it, and he ends up hitting John with the orange punch, which is basically, it's just a Superman punch, but Orange Cassidy does it. So it's Roman Reigns' finish. Actually, does Roman still do the Superman punch since his heel turn? I don't know if he even uses that anymore. But when he was...
he's more aggressive, but Superman
Yeah.
punches, he lightly does it because the spear is the be all end all. So
Yeah, the spear is his actual main finish, but I know the Superman punch did set up for it before he came back. I can't remember if he's used it all that much since he's been a heel.
He barely uses it. He doesn't use it as much as
I didn't think so, because it's very babyface-ish to be using a big move like just to set up a big giant punch like that. Much more of a face thing to do than a heel. So Orange does it, and then he hits what's he call it, the one driver move that he does there for his
Beach Day or something?
Beach Day, that's it. Yeah, he's able to follow up Beach Day with after the Orange Punch and put away John Silver and win the match. To say this exceeded my expectations would be an understatement. This is a very good match. I expected nothing but comedy. What I got was an athletic showcase for both men, and like a coming out party of sorts for John Silver. This was very good. It definitely. I expected nothing but comedy, man. So I was thoroughly impressed with this match. What do you think, though?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought this was supposed to be like the potty break match after that great opener, but this was phenomenal. I can't describe any better way to have a better showing for John Silver's first pay-per-view singles match. So I mean, yeah, we all know Orange Cassidy is the more popular, wrestler, and he
sells merchandise, all the 9 yards.
But that's what adds stock to John Silver. So,
but it's not like they didn't give him nothing. He got a lot in this match.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It just shows how much they're investing. AEW is into John Silver and how much potential he really has to be a main eventer if they do wish to push him one day. But yeah, he's so good, and I'm gonna keep my eyes for John Silver now because I have heard his name a couple times. I've never cared, and
well, his position as being one of the beat up dudes for the Dark Order didn't help.
Yeah, of course.
Right, like they've been positioning him as a scrub in that faction for a long time, and he hasn't really done much of note until this pay-per-view. So now it's like, well, they wanted to try and give the guy some shine, and they got him some shine now. So now they just got to follow up with it and use him a little better on television. That's all that they really got to do now.
I'm gonna be looking out for that because I'm really invested into John Silver right now. So I wish him the best of luck after this match because it really pushed him up. Not because of him. I don't know. They didn't push him. He pushed himself. There's just people who just show so much of their charisma, and they just make the best out of it, and he made the best out of it on whatever spot he had, especially after the Omega Page match. He made himself memorable in this pay-per-view. So he
kept the momentum going for the show.
He did. He really did. I think I could rate this. I kind of want to rate this match 2 thumbs up, but the beginning was kind of slow.
Yeah, I give it a solid 1.5. Just a little under 2 thumbs, but a solid 1.5. Yeah.
1.5 as well. Yep. I was surprised by how well this match went. So
especially after that opener, I think that makes it even more miraculous, really. So
yep.
And especially when I bet you expected nothing but comedy too, right? I know I did.
Yeah, comedy or potty break, either or
like a mix of both.
Negative connotations, yeah. So but obviously it wasn't. I stayed in my seat. I kept watching throughout the entire match. Eyes were glued.
It was like once they started doing stuff, you're like, oh, these guys are working well together in this first couple of minutes. I need to pay attention to this, and I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's a kudos to those two guys. So following that is, of course, another big match. The TNT Championship was decided in the third match of the show. Cody Rhodes, yes, he's gotten the Rhodes last name back. He can use it for, being a performer in AEW. He can use it now.
I shed a tear when I heard that.
Finally.
I've heard Cody Rhodes so many times when he was just a rookie in WWE, still under, Legacy and all that crap. So I'm just happy that one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid is finally getting his name back because
you know what's weird? I was just getting used to him not having a last name and just being known as Cody, and now he's Cody Rhodes again. So I'm happy he's got the Rhodes last name back, but I got used to him just having a singular name, and now he got the surname back. So but I'm glad he's got the Rhodes name back. Like of all people, he should be allowed to have that. So. Like Dustin wasn't just Dustin. Dustin's been Dustin Rhodes, so.
Well, it's because WWE they didn't trademark that for merchandise and all that.
Yeah,
So,
but they trademarked Cody's first and last name, so.
Yeah, I think that was his decision. Like, Mr. Kennedy, he can't be called Mr. Kennedy. He has to be called Mr. Anderson, and it never sounded right. So, but it is what it is. That's WWE for you. They trademark whatever name.
Yeah, well, but Cody's got, apparently he's able to use it. And so Darby actually comes out first. He comes out, I don't know if he got driven in this car, but there was this car that was all spray painted and stuff, and then he kind of skateboards on top of it down to his entrance, coming off as a total superstar in this entrance, by the way. And it's funny, I seen some tweets as this match was finishing up, and we'll talk about how Darby did, but people were like, and in WWE he'd be treated like Ricochet right now. And then Dave Meltzer, of all people, said, like, not even Raw or SmackDown, in NXT he'd probably be treated like Ricochet on NXT, and I was like, ooh. Oh, they're pulling no punches with WWE's use of smaller talent. So it kind of makes you wonder if they would, but we don't need to wonder about that because he's with All Elite. And so Darby Allin comes out. He's like he reminds me of like a modern day Jeff Hardy. He's got like the same aura. He's just as much of a risk taker. He's
like a darker, brooder Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, he's a lot darker, but like a lot of what made Jeff special, I see in Darby.
Yeah, no, like offense or anything, but to me, he's like a Hot Topic, the wrestler. Like he's just oozing like the Hot Topic, like I don't know, the feeling, So every time I go to Hot Topic, I get that type of aura from him.
Yeah, like a true punk wrestler, So
that's what makes him stand out. He's just that.
Love his theme song too. It really, I think that the theme song really also helps the act a lot. I think his theme.
Out of all the wrestlers, his is a very it sticks out compared to the like Moxley and Cody. His also pops out. So yeah.
Actually, those are the three whose themes I always remember. It's Darby's, Cody's, and Mox's themes. Those are the ones where you know
are just lame.
Yeah.
Copyright free stuff in my opinion. So these three themes, they stick out, and I feel like every wrestler in AEW should have a theme that should stick out like Darby should, but it is what
Darby comes out, he's focused, he's just kind of staring at the ramp, he's waiting for Cody to come out. Cody Rhodes comes out, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes TNT champion. The entire extended and ever-growing Nightmare family is there to pump Cody up for his match, including Gun Club. It's just like half the roster's up there for Cody, and then Darby's just watching as everybody's cheering Cody on before he comes out there. So Cody comes in, and of course the match starts. And it's a championship contest, bit of a feeling out process. Cody kind of locks hold of the arm and transitions a few times, and he knows he's the bigger dude and he can get cocky a bit, so he kind of transitions from a couple arm locks. He kind of catches Darby's arm a few times, then Darby gets some space, and then of course Cody flexes, because if you've noticed, I don't know how much Dynamite you've seen in the last few weeks, but in a couple of these TNT title defenses, Cody's been showing some heelish tactics. He'll get cocky, he'll do push-ups. I was
kind of surprised by that, because this match, I thought it was going to be a babyface, I mean, they still are, but this match had some, heelish vibes that Cody
I think it's just, the crowd was always going to be for Darby. So Cody, I just think, is smart enough to know that he was the de facto heel in the match, and he played that part. So
yeah, I haven't seen heel Cody since, I guess, his Bullet Club days, but then again, he was still, kind of a baby face, because Bullet Club's still a big,
Yeah, it's not over-the-top heel stuff, but he has been doing some cocky stuff when he has the advantage in his title defenses. So, he'll do push-ups, he'll flex, he'll do just some cocky show, some Dolph Ziggler-esque, some show-off-esque stuff. And so that's what he does to get in Darby's head early on in the match. Cody outpowers Darby when Darby tries a hammerlock. Darby gets back up to his feet, flips back up, and the two kind of circle each other. And Cody goes to let Darby kind of lock up, and then he just kind of slams him to the ground. He's got him in a waist lock. Darby's able to get out of it, do a waist lock of his own. But that's not enough. He just kind of lets go of the waistlock and slaps Cody at the back of the head. And Cody is not very pleased with being slapped at the back of the head. And so eventually Cody can't get the better of Darby, and he decides to go to the outside for a breather. Arn gives him some tips on how he should approach his challenger when he gets back into the ring. Cody, again, stalls on the apron a bit. They get back into the ring, do some grappling. Once again, Darby gets the, it's kind of like a waist lock in, and Cody and him kind of just trade some, again, they exchange a couple more holds, and then Darby is able to grapple Cody down to the mat and get him into a cradle pinfall predicament. And then Cody once again goes to the outside for a breather after he was nearly pinned. And in doing so, Darby springboards and kind of flips in the ring to kind of show off. And Cody wasn't really paying attention to this, and Darby knew this. So Darby just kind of flung himself, that crazy dive he does, where it's just like a big flying shoulder, like a javelin flying through the middle ropes. Just it got Cody right in the back of the head. Just looked like it sucked for Cody to take. And Darby takes advantage of this, throws Cody back into the ring. Darby tried to go to the top rope. Cody tried to cut him off. And Darby just kind of hangs on. And Cody overpowers him. It's like he went for like that flip stunner. He kind of tried to go for that move, but Cody kind of kept him in place and threw him all the way to the outside, right onto the entrance ramp. Darby's hurting. He's selling the back on the outside. And Cody just kind of watches him for a bit. And Darby's in a lot of trouble by this point in the match. So Cody, when he gets back in the ring, takes advantage, just kind of beats him down, kind of attacks the arm, stomps on it, throws it to the canvas, locks it in a hammer lock, and then he actually positions the elbow and steps on it. Darby is able to kind of fight back a bit, but Cody snuffs it out. Cody continually going after the arm. This is the part where the selling really comes in. So Darby's arm is hurt from being thrown to the outside. It's now hurting even more from Cody working it over. And Cody continues to attack the body part long term. Darby tries to get an advantage and kind of do a quick attack on Cody. Cody sees it coming, kind of hip tosses him and locks him into an armbar. At this point, Cody has the full advantage. Darby is in an armbar in the center of the ring. Then Cody transitions it into a hammer lock, which is still focused on putting tension on the forearm. Stomps the arm again. Cody kind of looking pretty heelish as he's beating down his much smaller challenger. Cody sees he's got the advantage and continues just to work on that arm. Stomps on it after jumping on the ropes and landing on Darby's arm. Darby then gets some momentum, and he tries to go for like a springboard arm drag counter, but Cody snuffs it out and throws him arm first onto the canvas, and once again has the advantage. Puts him into it's kind of like a chicken wing of sorts. So he had one of Darby's arms between his legs, and then he had his other arm kind of stretched out. So he's kind of like separating the shoulders. And Darby's selling. He can't quite escape, but he's fighting. And then eventually he does get his foot on the ropes, and the referee has Cody break the submission. Cody now starting to get, again, cocky again. He smiles a bit, and then he brings Darby's kind of slightly lifeless body to the top rope. And from that point, he kind of just tosses him from the top rope to the canvas, and again starts working on the arm, and gets him into the arm bar. But Darby is able to kind of block, and he doesn't get the full extension of the submission, and Darby is able to break out and get a little bit of space. Cody is now beginning to get a little irritated, and he goes to the top, and in his frustration, he misses a moonsault, but he kind of no-sells the missing of the moonsault and goes for a stinger splash. But so the moonsault missed, and then this stinger splash attempt missed. Cody jumps right into the turnbuckle midriff first. Then Darby kind of makes a comeback. It's a code red. Cody kicks out. And Darby did like a quick shoulder, kind of like a shoulder to the gut, and hit a code red out of nowhere to get some momentum going. And then once again, he runs into Cody, and Cody snuffs it out with a boot. They both make it. Cody gets thrown into the turnbuckle. I think it was exposed earlier on in the match, and Cody didn't hit his head, but like he ran his arm into it. So now Cody's arm is hurting because now he got hit with the exposed turnbuckle, or ran into the exposed turnbuckle. So with Cody being hurt, Darby kind of makes a recovery of sorts and tries to go to the top rope. Once again, Cody snuffs out this high-risk offense. And the two kind of, strategically place themselves on the top rope. And it's at this point that Cody Rhodes hits a crossroads. Yes, he hits a crossroads from the top rope. Darby just crumples to the mat, rolls all the way to the corner. And this was actually a really ingenious positioning thing. So Cody goes to pin Darby after this, but referee Mike Chioda, who got a chant at the beginning when the introductions were going on, when he was introduced as the referee, a Mike Chioda chant at a 2020 AEW pay-per-view. But Cody goes to pin Darby, and Mike Chioda notices that where Darby landed and rolled, his leg was underneath the bottom rope on the apron. So due to this, he stops the count because the guy's foot's under the ropes. And Cody's just kind of, he's stunned. Oh, it was his arm, actually. His arm. His arm made it under the rope. And so Mike Chioda says, no, the guy made it under the ropes. You got to break up the count. And now Cody is a little incensed. And he's angry, so he drags Darby quite a bit of ways from the rope. Darby is able to make a recovery. He kind of, he hangs on to Cody's back, and he's trying to get him into like a choke of sorts. So Cody just says, screw this, and he climbs to the top rope and then just jumps backwards with Darby on his back and kind of crushes him to break the rear naked choke attempt. Darby kind of rolls to the outside and splats on the outside. He's selling some more. Cody, again, very much in control of the match. But at this point, Cody Rhodes is wondering what's it going to take to finish Darby off, and he's getting frustrated. Scoop slam. He hits a few slams, and with every slam that goes on and Darby kicks out, Cody's getting more and more frustrated. He's just wondering why this guy won't quit. And Darby just keeps hanging in there, keeps asking for more. Cody, taking a page out of John Silver's book, does a press slam of his own. Once again, Darby is able to kick out and stay alive. And then Cody, just for the most heelish tactic you could think, decides to grab his like athletic belt. It's part of his like rig attire. He grabs the belt and decides that he wants to smack Darby Allin with it. And the commentators are wondering why he's doing this. It's like, why not just take advantage without a weapon and just finish the guy off like with a move or something? And in this distraction that Cody gives himself, Darby gets a jackknife cover, and Cody is able to kick out. He tries to hit the disaster kick. Darby counters that. The two then kind of trade moves back and forth. Darby's able to hit the flip stunner, and then Cody's incapacitated. So then Darby hits a coffin drop from the top. 1, 2, Cody is able to kick out of the coffin drop. Now, Gabe, has anybody actually kicked out of that move if it's been hit before? I can't remember if
has the wrong person, sir.
Hey, I think it's pretty protected, is it not? I don't think anybody's kicked out of it.
I think it's not. I think it's pretty protected, but then again, I have been watching AEW as much as I should be.
Yeah. I can't remember it being kicked out of before this match.
Randy, he probably knows.
Yeah, he might know. I just, maybe Moxley, if they had a match, he might have kicked out of it. But usually when Darby hits that move, it's all but over. So I thought this match was over at that point. But Cody did end up kicking out. And Darby is in complete disbelief. He cannot believe that Cody just kicked out of his best shot, if you will. Both guys are selling. Darby gets Cody to his feet. Cody goes for crossroads again. Darby kind of counters it into a pin attempt. Cody then kind of turns Darby's pin attempt into a pin attempt of his own. And the two kind of trade like kind of victory rolls back and forth, victory roll grapples. And then Darby's one roll at the end is able to keep Cody down for basically like a cradle pin. And Darby Allin, in a shock pin, becomes the new TNT champion.
Yeah, those rolls remind me of Ciampa Gargano's first encounter at the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, they were kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's pretty symbolic that they might have better and more matches, more and better, like bigger, impactful matches in the future. Oh, and Brandon replied about the coffin drop. He said never. Cody was the first one to kick out.
I thought so. I didn't think anybody kicked out of it before. So the times when he had matches against Moxley, he never hit it. So, because I was the only other guy. I'm like, I know that Darby's lost to Moxley this year, so maybe he hit him with it. But I was like, as far as from I remember from watching Dynamite and these pay-per-views, nobody has ever kicked out of that move before Cody. So then he's acting all shocked, and I guess we'll kind of talk about the post-match after we kind of give our analysis. I thought this match was great. I thought, like, the pace of it was very, like, old-school NWA with, like, the dominant heel. I mean, Dave Meltzer kind of put it pretty good. I heard him say, like, Cody played kind of like the Lou Thesz role. Now, for any wrestling historians out there, Lou Thesz was a multiple-time world champion, and there were times where he would be in a local territory and face that territory's top babyface. And Lou was never really a heel per se, but in these matches where the local people were going to be for the local guy more, he would do what Cody did here and kind of play the heel, bully them around with power moves, always have the advantage with the power moves, and let them get their shine with the comeback. And that's basically what this match was. I loved the pacing of it. I loved the big dramatic spot changes. I liked the working of the arm. I liked Darby's never fight attitude. I think everything worked well for the story they were telling. They tricked me on the finish. I thought Darby had it won with the coffin drop. And then the pin exchanges at the end really got me, and it was a finish I didn't see coming. I thought this was a great match. And I was kind of surprised that Cody's second reign with the TNT title was even shorter than his first reign, but I guess like he wanted to put over Darby Allin, and I mean, giving him the secondary title is the way to do it. It's treated almost like a main event championship for AEW. The book it strong, so this is a big win for Darby. I thought this match was great. What do you think, Gabe?
I think, yeah, it was pretty good and everything. I have nothing to complain about, but I feel like something was missing, and I don't know what to. It's kind of a cop-out thing to say, but I really don't know what to explain.
For you, something just wasn't. You just didn't click with it fully.
Yeah, all the bells and whistles were like going on perfectly. All the all the moves, all the sequences and cues. It didn't seem anything went off with a hit. Everything went off perfectly. So I just don't know. Something was missing, and I don't know what it was. But I wouldn't be surprised if they get another chance to fight each other and have a bigger and grander match. After all, it was what's it called? Darby's first title win, so
yeah,
maybe they make, I don't know, if Cody wins it back or something, they might make it like a good rivalry, like, oh man, Cody learned from this, or Darby learned from the previous match, so we'll see if they have a sequel, because
well, they've already had like a couple matches, right?
Oh,
like
of course. Yeah.
like they had a draw, and then I think Cody won. I think Cody won one, and there was a draw, then Cody won the next, and there's never, I think like one of them was actually for the TNT title previously, and then here they are, they have this pay-per-view match, and Cody's already got 2 wins on him and a draw, so I guess they felt like Darby needed a win, and they decided to give him the win and the title at the pay-per-view. So
winning the belt wasn't the wrong decision, but I just feel like something was missing. I don't know what it was, but the ending where they did the whole roll-ups, maybe that's a sign of they're gonna go at it again, because they're really protecting these two.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, with the post match. So at the end, Cody's like just flabbergasted. He's kind of pissed with himself that he got pinned, and he realized he got beat. So then he takes the belt. No heel turn on this show, but he hands the belt to Darby. Darby's full of emotion. He's so happy to have won his first championship with AEW, and then Taz comes out. And he kind of, basically insinuates that the two of them should go get a room and, blah, 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 enough of this, and let my guys do some talking. And then, of course, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks come out. They beat down Cody and Darby, and then they kind of have a slight tussle when the TNT title comes into both of their possession, and then Taz kind of tells them to knock it off and get back on the same page, and they beat both guys up some more, and then Darby and Cody end up fighting back. But Team Taz ends up overwhelming them, and Cody gets taken out, and then they take Darby to the vehicle that was a part of Darby's entrance earlier in the night, and they're about to destroy his ankle with the car door until Will Hobbs comes out, and he's kind of, Team Taz has been trying to recruit him, and he's kind of been feuding with Cage and Starks. He comes out and saves Darby from getting his ankle crushed, but he ends up kind of blasting through the door a bit, so it's like he almost looked like he crushed Darby's leg on accident, but he didn't, and the door never really shut, but he kind of forcefully brushed by that door. Got a little nervous there for a second, and then Darby's just laying out dead, and Team Taz runs away, and it just seems like, I guess maybe they're going to do Brian Cage and Darby Allin for the belt in the future. It seems like that's what they were setting up here. Maybe Cody and Ricky Starks are going to be involved in this thing, but I see it being like Darby ends up having to face Brian Cage because he's the number 1 ranked singles wrestler in AEW as of the rankings going into last week's Dynamite. So I guess we'll see where it goes. What do you think of the post-match?
I really don't know, like, Taz's role in this company. Like, I know he's a commentator for Dark, and then he's a manager, and then he's also used for, like, interview. Like I remember the FTR and Young Bucks, like, video package before it started. Like, Taz was used for some of the interview stuff, and I'm like, what is Taz supposed to be? He's a heel, but he's also used for, like, I don't know, commentary. I don't know. I feel like Taz's role in AEW is kind of like everywhere to me. But other than that, I feel like you're right. I think Brian Cage, he should be getting some spotlight with and putting him with Darby Allin for the TNT title is a great way to push I guess Brian Cage up, because I know he had a chance to fight Moxley, correct? But he won or lost, or did that match? No, he lost.
He lost.
Yeah, he lost. There you go.
They threw in the towel. He never tapped, but he, like, Taz threw in the towel or whatever, and then that was that. So,
yeah,
and then after that, they gave him the gimmick belt, the FTW title, and it's not really a real championship. It's just for Cage to hold around as a prop, And I mean, he's defended it, I think, like, once or twice, but it's not, like, really a championship. Like, it's literally was just made so Taz could give it to Cage, and it's just like a gimmick belt.
I think they're trying to, like, replicate, what's his name, $1 Million Man. I know he came out of nowhere and gave his son the $1 Million belt, but, like, what did that mean? So
didn't end up mean nothing from what I remember.
Exactly. So this is exactly what's going on with FTW belt. So yeah, like you said, it's just a prop in my opinion.
Like, if the FTW champion's going for the TNT title, which is the real title, like, how much of a real championship is the FTW title, right? It's not one. So, I
feel like the 24/7 has more value than that FTW belt.
Yeah, well, it's literally just something to kind of keep heat on Team Taz. Like, it's all its purposes. Like, it's probably just gonna go away as soon as he wins a real championship. Like, I just know it. But anyway, that looks like that's what they're gonna do. Maybe they'll get a tag match out of it on Dynamite. I'm sure Cage is gonna get a shot. He's the number 1 ranked male wrestler in the AEW rankings. This is the last rankings that came out on Dynamite, the go-home show before the pay-per-view. And with this post-match angle, it just kind of reaffirmed my belief in that. So afterwards, the Natural Nightmares cut a promo. They were talking about how Allie turned on them and went back with the Butcher and the Blade, and they're pissed off, and they're gonna beat the hell out of the Butcher and the Blade on Dynamite this coming week. So we'll see. I guess the tag match is set. Man, Allie's just jumping back and forth. First she's Allie, then she's the Bunny with these two guys, then she's a part of the Nightmare family. Now she's back with the Butcher and the Blade. They've been all over the place in this 1 year. She's been doing stuff.
A year.
Yeah. So that's going on. Dustin's great at cutting fiery promos. Let's see how that match goes on Wednesday. Then after, we had the AEW Women's World Championship. Hikaru Shida defending against Nyla Rose. Nyla has Vicky Guerrero as a manager. That started, I guess, over the summer.
Nyla Rose's attire.
Yeah, it was Mega Man looking.
I was really confused. Like, why did she have the Mega Man colors? And I was like, yo, why does she look like Mega Man? And then I saw the little her initials in the back. It said it's NR, but all pixelated. Like, oh, that's definitely Mega Man. And then, like, her right arm is like yellow, so it symbolizes the Mega Buster.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, she's definitely.
I just assumed she's a fan. That's all I got from it. I'm like, oh, she likes Mega Man. decided to have some gear inspired by it on pay-per-view. Okay, cool. I like Mega Man.
Yeah, me too. But to me, I feel like it is my opinion. I feel like when you have I guess attire that symbolizes another like iconic, person, it must mean something to this match. Like why you're gonna dress up like Mega Man. Like example, like Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, they dress up as these like comic book characters, symbolize what that moment means in that match, I guess. So I forgot. Like Seth Rollins, there is always a reason why he dresses up as a certain like fictional character. I remember he did like Ice King from like Game of Thrones. He also did Thanos. So it meant something in that storyline when he had that certain feud. So I don't know, just dressing up as Mega Man, I didn't really put that together. When she went against Hikaru here.
So in this match,
I guess.
So in this match, they start fighting right away. Shida actually ends up getting the upper hand very early on in the bout. She keeps beating Nyla to the punch. It was actually kind of wild. She hits a big knee like early on in the ropes, and she keeps on the attack. Then Nyla kind of bullies her around with some power, but Shida doesn't let it stop her. She kind of kicks Nyla's knee on the apron, beats her up on the ring apron after kind of taking her down. Gives her a big knee as Nyla's hanging off the apron. Shida delivers a big knee. Shida throws her into the guardrails, and then Shida does distracts herself essentially. She sets up a chair so that she could like run off the chair and hit a knee. But in doing so, she gave Nyla enough time to recover, and Nyla just kind of splattered her with a clothesline on the floor. So this is where Nyla kind of got the upper hand. And for whatever reason, Nyla decides she's going to get a weapon. I think she went for a table. And then the referee's like, no, you can't be using that. And then she goes for a chair. And the referee tells her, no, you can't use that. And she just kind of huffs and puffs and walks over. And this whole of Nyla distracting herself twice after Shida distracted herself, Shida's able to take advantage and kind of do a flying knee on Nyla, and Nyla crashes through one of the guardrails, and now she's kind of the area where the wrestler fans are all located. And in all the hubla going on, the ref's not paying attention, and then Vicky uses those dastardly kendo sticks to attack Shida when the ref's back is turned. And so Shida goes down, and now Nyla takes advantage, throws Shida around the guardrails at ringside. She lumbers around the ring with Shida, kind of beats her down. Then she kind of puts her foot or like leg into the area of the ring apron that's kind of exposed, so there's like some metal grates that are showing like right above the ring apron area. So she kind of locks her leg up in there and beats down on her leg, throws her back into the ring. Throws her leg into the ring post, taunts for a bit into the camera. Shida selling. Nyla just keeps going after the leg, kind of like throws the leg knee first into the canvas, goes for the pin. Shida kicks out, big slam from Nyla, follows it up into a splash on the injured leg, but Shida is once again able to kick out. Nyla, again, just kind of slowly attacking the leg, gets her in like a half crab and keeps her in there for a while, and then bites Shida's knee, continues to beat her down, and then Nyla decides she's going to go to the top rope or go up and scale the ropes, and in this Shida is able to recover enough, and then it's snuffed out immediately because Nyla kind of tosses Shida from the top rope. And then Shida ends up kind of laying there, and then Nyla ends up going for like a leg drop off the top, and then Shida moves out of the way, so malfunction at the junction there. This gives Shida some time to recover, and I think she goes for like the Falcon Arrow. She couldn't quite get it, so then she ended up reestablishing herself, and she had a big suplex on Nyla, so that took a lot of power. A close 2 count for Shida. Vicky's cheering the fact that Nyla was able to kick out of such a giant suplex. Big running knee attempt by Shida, but Nyla swats her out of the way. Crossbody for Shida, which then Nyla turns into what I thought was going to be a Samoan drop, but then she just kind of did an overhead press slam to the canvas. Count for Nyla. Shida is able to kick out at 2. Nyla keeps on the attack. And then she sets her up for that big diving. Is it like yeah, it's like a diving knee that she does. She'll hang the opponent up on the top rope, and they'll kind of like be dangling there. And then she goes for like this big diving knee from the middle rope. She's able to hit it on Shida. Shida sells it, but she is in fact able to kick out of that as well. Nyla is now, of course, getting quite frustrated with the fact that she cannot put Shida away, so she targets the leg she's been working on once again, and kind of like does the thing where she sets up the shin on the bottom rope and then does like the big ass drop on it. I don't know what else to call it. Like, that's pretty much what it is. She does it like 2 times. Shida sells the leg. Nyla goes to scale the ropes again. Shida kind of catches her there, and Nyla swats her off. But then Shida kind of takes Nyla's head and pounds it into the turnbuckle a few times. Nyla falls to the entrance ramp, and then Shida ends up hitting like a diving kick off the top rope onto the entrance ramp area. Follows it up with a missile drop kick in the ring. Close 2 count for Shida. Nyla is in fact able to kick out. Vicky's getting ever more frustrated at the fact that Shida's hanging on in this matchup. Shida calls for the running knee. Nyla counters it into a power bomb. Wasn't quite the beast bomb. She didn't sit out. It was just like a regular power bomb. Then Nyla, with all the gall in the world, hits Shida with a running knee of her own. It was more like a jogging knee, but she hits a knee on Shida, kind of sits on her chest to pin her, but Shida is still able to kick out. After this, big back body drop from Shida sends Nyla back to the mat. That was impressive. Again, a lot of strength. The two somehow end up on the top rope, and Shida hits a massive... She finally got it. The Falcon Arrow from the top rope on this massive woman. It was actually very, very impressive. But it's only... Actually... So, to play into this, there was a point where, after a couple power bombs, Nyla had Shida beat, but she purposely, in the cockiest manner possible, interrupted her own pin to do more punishment. And then it ended up costing her because Shida was able to counter one of her next offensive maneuvers into a comeback of her own. So at this point, Shida, after hitting the massive Falcon Arrow, had the match won. The ref was going to count 3, but she also stopped her own pin attempt to spin it back on Nyla. And Shida's giving like this evil grin. She doesn't just want to finish this with a Falcon Arrow. She wants to finish this with a couple knee strikes. So she stops that. She goes for the knee strike, but that dastardly Vicky Guerrero trips her. This pisses Shida off. She's staring holes into Vicky, and then from that, Nyla is able to actually hit Shida off the ring apron and send her crashing to the floor. After this, there's a bit of a malfunction where Nyla comes charging at Shida. Shida's able to get out of the way, and Nyla actually collides with Vicky. This ends up letting Shida take advantage. She tosses Nyla back into the ring, hits another Falcon Arrow inside the ring. Nyla is struggling to sit up. She runs in, and then she sits up right into a running knee strike from Shida. And that's not enough. The Shida ends up positioning Nyla on her knees again, hits a big knee to the face, hits another knee to the face, third knee to the face. She does like 3 consecutive vicious knees to the face, and it's through these knockout knees, these 3 to the face. It puts Nyla away. Shida pins Nyla Rose again on pay-per-view, beats her. Nyla's been the number 1 ranked female challenger for months. She gets beat here on pay-per-view. Obviously somebody else is next in line. I think her title contentions are pretty well done. And then they're already teasing her and Vicky splitting up already. They have this big argument, and I think Vicky slaps and emasculates Nyla, and they just kind of walk off awkwardly. A lot of people said they thought this was the worst match of the show. I don't think it was the worst. I don't remember being all that bored with it. I enjoyed it for what it was. Was it one of the weaker ones? Yes, but I don't think it was the worst match of the show. That seems to be the
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently the consensus was that this was the worst match of the pay-per-view. I disagree. I have a different worst match than this one. I thought it was good for what it was. It might not have been as good as the Double or Nothing match, because that one was better, but it had all the hoopla with the weapons and the excessive crowd brawling and all that stuff. The smoke and mirrors that can make matches better. I thought Shida came off very intense. I thought her power was awesome on display here. There was enough, like, it was Shida carrying this whole thing, and I think she's good enough, and Nyla's good enough to hang in there. And yeah, it might not have been as good as their Double or Nothing match, but I still thought it was good for what it was. The question being is, are Vicky and Nyla already splitting up, and what's next for Shida? I don't know. What do you think, Gabe? What do you think of the match, and what do you think of the women's title picture going forward?
Man, this match was the worst match. Oh, for me personally, it was
okay.
I
you're in the consensus, dude. Everybody agrees that, except for me. I'm the only person who's disagreeing with that.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think it's really like, I'm not sure. It is just rumors, but I heard it wasn't. It was agent by rumors that Kenny Omega like set the match up. Like, there was very like Kenny Omega like spots there, and people were saying, oh, since Kenny's like, you know, a very high, or he's in charge of the women's division or whatever, he kind of set up the match or whatever. I mean, that's what I've heard, but this match was just, man, I was really bored. I'm not a big fan of Nyla. I mean, she's had a couple matches where she has impressed me, but it's not consistent. And
she's too. I think she's a little too green to be in the title picture. Myself personally,
she is. Though her knee strikes don't make contact at all. I remember near the end of the match, Vicky Guerrero like was supposed to like trip up Shida, and that just she did contact.
She did trip her.
No. If you rewatch it, she like was late on the cue, like how she was late with Eddie and Ray at the Dominic like ladder match. She was.
Oh, then Shida sold it. I was more paying attention to what Shida was doing, so I just kind of seen her fall. I was just like, oh, Vicky tripped her.
Shida fell, but she fell because
she had to. She had to.
She knew the spot, but Vicky was late. Like you could see that Shida just fell because, oh shoot, this is where you were supposed, you're supposed to trip me, but
yeah,
Vicky didn't trip her. So, but yeah, this match was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a snooze. Like, I told myself I was gonna watch it fully, and right after Vicky just kind of missed a tripper, I was like, oh wow, how many minutes is left in this match? I'll just skip to the finish, and it didn't really change my opinion. Hikaru won. I guess that was the way to go. I don't think her winning or losing would have made a big difference, to be honest, because this women's division is a snooze compared to NWA's like women's like division being featured.
They got to start. They got to start like if NWA starts letting their women go, AEW's got to jump all over the workers there and start signing them, because they're signing all these green wrestlers who just started a few years ago that the main male wrestlers are friends with or whatever. But like, other than a couple of the Japanese workers, all the women are very, very green. And it's a lacking division. It's funny, like where AEW lacks, NXT has it super strong. Because even NXT's women's division is phenomenal in terms of the female talent that they have on the black and gold brand. And then NXT's kind of weak in the tag division right now. Whereas what's AEW's biggest strength is in their tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting, and it's crazy that Kenny Omega would be telling any, like, I mean, I having him agent Nyla Rose is just like, I think it might be a recipe for disaster if that's actually true, because like you can do and ask stuff of this green woman that she'll try to do, but it's probably not going to look great, but I don't think it was as bad as everybody else seems to think it was. Like, but you are in the consensus, Gabe. Like, from what I've seen in the last half a week, from all the inputs I've seen about the show, everybody said that this was the match they thought was the worst of the show. I got another choice for the worst match, and we'll see how people agree about that when we get to it. But I don't think it was as bad as everybody else says it was. Was it one of the more stellar matches of the night? No. But I still give it, one thumb up, because I'm a fan of Shida, and I thought her power was good, and it was a good, successful pay-per-view title defense for her, and she looked strong and winning, and I thought that was to be a positive.
Shida too. It's just, I don't think Nyla's just too green, like you said. So I think
I hope that's it for her getting pay-per-view title shots. I hope they just have her, go down. But she's been number 1 ranked since losing the belt. She had to get a rematch at some point. They had to do it. She's been the.
Wondering where what's her face? The other, like, there were so many other like Japanese women wrestlers in the division. Like what's her name? The magical girl. I forgot her name, but she was one of my favorites in AEW, and I think she's part time. Let me look up her name real quick. Magical girl.
So you're talking about Sakazaki?
Yeah, Yuka
Yuka?
Sakazaki found her. Yep.
Maybe
Yeah,
she
she
went
was one
back
of
to
my favorites.
Japan and then the travel bans happened, like with Riho. Maybe that's what happened with them.
Oh wow, I actually forgot about Riho. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this year's been shit. So
I think
it's
because they were being flown in to do shows, right? Like they were
of
being
course,
flown in to
yeah.
do them, and now when the pandemic hit, none of them have been seen since we got cases in March. So
So it's just I don't know I don't know what AEW has to do to fix their women's division. This has been an ongoing like topic for months now. So um,
maybe it's just you got to wait for the right people to be signable. You just got to
you're
wait it
right.
out.
Maybe
We forget there was a time where WWE's women's division was just hiring all models, and it was awful, and it took them a long time to build up like legitimate athletic wrestling, and it took the likes of like Charlotte and Sasha and Bailey to light things up in NXT to change things. It's just going to take signing the right couple women when they become available and having them become the pillars. They don't have enough pillars, you know. But I think what they should do, even though Britt Baker is also somewhat green in the ring, she's a great character, and I think she's competent enough to be in there. I think she should be the next challenger for Shida. I think that's where they should go.
for rating this match, I don't want to be too mean, but I'll just give it a thumb down. If
That's
I'm being
fine.
nice, I'll say like no thumbs at all, just flat out zero thumbs. But yeah, this match was the worst in my opinion. Not, I mean, was it the worst match that they had? Probably not. But I'm pretty sure that Hikaru and Nyla Rose had better matches together. So
They had a
this
better
was the
match at
worst
Double
one.
or Nothing, but I didn't think this
That's
one
for
was
sure.
all that much worse than it. But again, everybody else seemed to be thinking it was the shit. So you're in the majority opinion. I'm the one who's differing on this one. So that's all good, differing of opinions. But yeah, so you give it thumbs down. I give it one very weak thumb up, and I think that Britt Baker should be next in line to challenge Shida. Who would you pair with Shida going into 2021 in Revolution and that stuff?
I mean, who else is in the women's division? I mean, I guess Britt, but like, is she still injured? Right?
No,
Like,
she just started like wrestling like a couple weeks ago.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I guess her, like, I'm not that invested into this big swole character yet. So
No, she's also super green and can't really. She's pretty limited, I think. I think she's
well,
but
if Penelope Ford can work on her in ring, maybe her. But I'm looking for more matches with Chris Statlander, but she's injured as well, isn't she?
yeah, I think she like tore her ACL or something like that, so she's gonna be
Yeah.
out a while. So I don't know when she's gonna come back.
Yeah, I love her wrestling. Her character's ass, like we said that one pay-per-view review. But yeah, I guess for the women that's in AEW at the moment, I guess Britt Baker is the answer. But
Or I wouldn't mind Penelope Ford either. She's getting better.
yeah,
She's coming into her own.
I feel like Penelope would, if she were to challenge, I think she would lose.
Well,
Though.
Shida and her had a very good match at the Fighter Fest week
really?
1. Yeah, I mean it wasn't like match of the year or anything, but you would look at that and go, well, that was a very good women's title match. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I wouldn't
so
mind seeing her against Hikaru.
and she's grown a lot since July, I think. So I mean, maybe they should do that again. Maybe like for like a filler pay-per-view opponent, why not? Right? Give her some
she's
shine.
one of my favorite characters for the women's division.
Yeah.
I really my eyes are just glued on the
Yeah,
screen when
I'd
she's on
say
there.
either
Her
put
and
Britt
Brittany.
up against Shida or do Penelope again. One of the two. I'd be fine with. But like those are like literally your only options, so that is kind of sad when you're pretty much
Yeah.
just limited to those two, right? But it is what it is. And then now we go on to what I believe is the apex of this pay-per-view, the peak, if you will, of this pay-per-view. And
This wasn't the main event. I feel like this should have been the main event for how much investment this has been going on even before.
yeah, I was when it was booked, I'm like, there's nothing else that's going on last. This is going to be the main event of the show. And then on Dynamite, the go-home show, they made sure to let viewers know that the World Championship I Quit match would be the headliner. So I knew this wasn't going to main event. Because on Dynamite, they said Moxley and Kingston was confirmed 100% to be going on last. You knew it going into this pay-per-view. So I knew it. And I think it probably should have. But at the same time, I did really like the main event. So I don't think it was an underwhelming way to end the show. But this was, without question, the fucking best match of this pay-per-view. I dare say this might be the second best AEW match of the year. And once again, it's the Young Bucks involved in a tag team title match. I, personally, still preferred the Page and Omega Bucks title match from Revolution more. I still think that's my clear choice for match of the year. I'm not budging on that. I think that is my choice for match of the year. But if you were to say, well, Braden, what did you think of the Young Bucks versus FTR? I would say, well, that was the second best match that AEW has done this year. And I don't think, and some people even thought it was better than the Page and Omega match. It's just at least people like me think it was the second best, and then some people even liked it more and thought it was AEW's match of the year. So FTR, for those of you who, I don't know how you wouldn't know if you're listening to this podcast, but they were formerly known as the Revival in NXT. They were two-time NXT Tag Team Champions, perhaps best known for their rivalry with DIY, which today that would be known as Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, both two huge single stars in NXT today, and I think you could contribute them being big single stars for their success as a tag team, particularly when they chased the Revival for the tag team titles. But also the Revival had clinics with American Alpha. I think they even defended against Enzo and Cass and made Enzo and Cass look great. They became pretty quickly known as the best heel tag team in North America in their time in NXT. And the Bucks were killing it in New Japan, killing it in Ring of Honor. And the online buzz was, could you imagine if these two teams faced off in the future? And that was always the question going into this match, was like, if they did have a match, how great would it be? I bet it would be great. When is it ever going to happen? If it's ever going to happen, the fucking Bucks work for New Japan and Ring of Honor. The Revival work for NXT and WWE. It might not ever happen. Well, then All Elite Wrestling happens, and the Bucks end up, being founders for the company, and a big signing, and a big I guess they're vice presidents for the company. So they're big shots and getting this thing going. And so then they want to build up a strong tag team division. They end up, putting over Private Party and not even becoming the inaugural tag team champions, but it was a part of a year-long arc for them to chase the titles. And the first champions ended up being Scorpio Sky and Kazarian. SCU were the inaugural tag champions. Then they held them for a short period of time before Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, fellow members of the Elite, which is like it was a branch of the Bullet Club, but now it's basically the vice presidents of AEW. It's the Bucks, it's Cody, it's Kenny Omega, and Hangman Page being a former member, but in storyline he got kicked out when he cost the Bucks a shot at them leading up into All Out. But the Bucks end up becoming number one contenders for the tag titles. Right after FTR wins the tag title. So FTR comes into AEW as this big, huge, massive tag team signing, and they hold off on the Bucks and FTR getting physical for a long time. FTR made their first appearance in Dynamite shortly after the pandemic started. I think it was like in April, sometime early in the spring. And the Bucks and them never really touched. They had some in-ring, they teamed together a few times, but for a long time they kept them separate. They had FTR booked to take on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page for the tag team titles at All Out. FTR win the belts there. They're now the tag team champions. And then leading into this pay-per-view finally, after both teams have been in the company for pretty well over half a year, if not 7-8 months, they finally do the match. And now the tag titles are on the line. I thought it was unnecessary when the Bucks did the old Cody stipulation where they're like, well, if we don't win, we're never going to challenge for the tag titles again. I think
that was a dead giveaway on who was going to win.
Yeah, it was. It was, because they're not going to ban two VPs 2 years in a row. You knew that. So I thought that was completely unnecessary. But I will say that the work was so great in this match that there was a moment where I thought, maybe the Bucks will lose. I was like, maybe they are going to pull the whole fucking Cody thing and think that since they're have such say in the company as like these vice presidents, they don't want to be seen as like being nepotism and giving themselves the belts, and that's why they are going to keep themselves out of the tag title picture. But then, alas, it was what it was. But now the stage was finally set. You have both these tag teams in the same company. The tag team title match is set for the pay-per-view. It is what many claim to be the two best tag teams in North America, finally going head-to-head. And going into this match, I think Matt Jackson is suffering from, I think it's knee issues, legitimately. He's got his knee's jammed a bit. It's got some problems. So he's actually working hurt right now. And so they added that into the storyline. They had Tully Blanchard help FTR basically injure Matt's ankle with a steel chair in the build-up to this match. So you're wondering how Matt's ankle's going to do. And, he's saying it's fine in the weeks going into the show, but you don't really know. And that played a big part of this match in the beginning. It definitely did. But may I also point out that Bucks came out in Los Angeles Lakers colors, while FTR came out in Boston Celtics colors. So you got, basically repping the two best basketball teams of all time for the NBA, and they're both supposed to be these two best tag teams. So I just like the color choices. I thought that was pretty appropriate going into this match. So Nick Jackson says he wants to start off for his brother because his brother Matt, his leg is hurt, and Dax is just kind of keeping Nick at bay with a headlock. Nick is able to get out, do a bit of a leapfrog, do his usual thing. Dax takes Nick down. Cash tags in. He gets kind of overwhelmed by the Bucks. They're quick, and Matt tags in. They both do some double teaming on Dash to keep him at bay. Dash and Matt kind of trade holds in the middle. Nick comes in off of a what is the move? Oh, with the axe handle. Comes down with the axe handle. Starts doing a little bit of a comeback. Attacks both members of FTR. Big kicks. Keeps both members at bay. He's fighting them on his own on the outside. So he's doing these high leg kicks to both of them. And then he ends up running and takes them both down with a double bulldog. Or it's like a bulldog clothesline combination. He takes them both out. He's on fire. FTR is basically caught off their game. Matt ends up tagging back in. Him and Nick end up hitting Dax with it's like the tribute to the golden. It's like a tribute to Ibushi and Page's, or Ibushi and Omega's tag team. The golden gold. Yeah, it's like a golden trigger. They do like double knees to the skull.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It was when Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi did team in New Japan. That was their team finish, and the Bucks kind of have used it every once in a while in AEW. They hit that on Dax. He's almost pinned, but then Cash Wheeler with this running headbutt. To Matt to break up the pin. Matt realizes this. Nick realizes this. He clotheslines Cash out of the ring and does another diving axe handle to the outside. Matt Jackson is kind of getting a little frustrated early on. He brings in a steel chair, and of course Dax Harwood, great heel, is like, yeah, hit me, get yourself disqualified. I'd love it if you did that. You'll never get the challenge for these belts again. Come on, Matt, hit me with that chair. And so Matt's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Nick's trying to calm him down. Dax is yelling, yeah, come on, hit me in the skull. So he ends up not hitting Dax Harwood with the chair. Nick, in this, trying to calm his brother down, ends up getting picked up by Cash Wheeler from the ring apron. And Cash basically power bombs him through a table at ringside behind the guardrails. Through this, Cash is able to quickly rebound. He tags in, and they hit their double spike pile driver finish on Matt Jackson. And I thought that was going to be close to being it, but Matt is able to roll over to the ropes. Cash goes to pin him. He realizes his leg's on the rope. The pin gets broken up. They then expose Matt's foot. So they take off his boot. They take off all the tape and the padding and everything. They expose his foot. It's completely bare. And Cash Wheeler starts attacking it. And they double team it. They do Dax Harwood holds Matt's exposed foot to the canvas, and Cash Wheeler comes off the top with this big knee to Matt's exposed foot. Dax then puts Matt in a submission, a leg lock of sorts. And in doing so, Nick is able to kind of fight off Cash Wheeler. And he comes off the top with a 450 on Dax Harwood. A big breakup to the submission. So now Matt has some recovery time because now Dax has been taken out with this 450 from the top rope. Inside the ring, Nick looks to help his brother Matt out, but then Cash Wheeler out of nowhere hits an actual Young Buck with a super kick. Takes out Nick Jackson with a super kick. Matt is selling his foot. It's been destroyed by these two vicious tag team heels. He's selling. Cash Wheeler gets back into the ring. He kicks Matt in the head. And it's at that moment that Cash Wheeler decides, you know what? Me and Dax are the best tag team in the world. We may never do no flips and just fists, but fuck it. We're the best tag team in the world. I'm going to beat these fucking flippers with a flip of my own. He goes to the top rope. Cash Wheeler, the former Dash Wilder in NXT, does a springboard 450 splash. Matt Jackson rolls out of the way. He crashes and burns. And then Matt hits a super kick when Cash gets to his feet and pins him for the Young Bucks to win the tag team titles. Also, may I mind you, there's a point also earlier on in the match, I just remembered it now, where Matt was about to, he was about to tag in his brother Nick to get the quick advantage early on, and Cash ended up doing the Big E spear through the fucking ring ropes on Nick Jackson and just killed him.
That was wild.
Oh my god, I forgot about that part, but I thought I'd mention it now. That was nuts. That was an amazing moment. And then at the end, it was Cash's cockiness, wanting to beat the flip team with a flip, and he missed and got super kicked for it. And now the Young Bucks are the AEW World Tag Team Champions for the first time in their careers. Big moment for them. Kenny Omega actually comes out to celebrate with them, and they're all having a good old time. Hangman Page is looking envious from the tunnel. He's kind of he looks defeated and lost, because now the Bucks have the titles he used to have. Kenny's now going after the world title, which he failed to beat to get for himself, and now he's feeling very dejected. And the Bucks celebrate. FTR kind of walks off, defeated. This was a fantastic match. This was everything you'd expect it to be. So I didn't have the expectation that it was going to be the absolute match of the year, but I was for sure it's going to be the best match of the pay-per-view. That was my expectation going in, and to say they lived up to it, I could certainly say they lived up to it for sure. I thought this match was absolutely fantastic. It was as close to being perfect as you could possibly get. I loved this match. It did not disappoint. Anybody who thought that they were going to have a great tag match against one another got it here tonight. What do you think, Gabe?
This was match of the night because this was the match that everyone was looking forward to.
Everyone.
This match was the match to watch. And like we said earlier, it should have main evented, but the position and card did not take away from what it is or what it was, because it was the first match of the two greatest tag teams in this generation or this era. So of course we're going to see more from them, and it was a great, I guess, first match within their future series of 5-star classics that's going to become. So I think the only thing I took away from the match that I didn't like was I guess the Cody Rhodes if we lose then we won't challenge for the tag belts, because I was pretty sure that the Young Bucks were going to win.
Well, because of that, I wasn't so sure. If they didn't put that stipulation on, I thought all bets would have been off more. Mm-hmm. You would have thought maybe they had a better chance at losing, but when they did that, it was it made it a surefire thing. So.
Yep, but then again, the match was still what it was, a great wrestling match. If they didn't say, if I didn't watch the video package, because I did not know myself that it was gonna be if Young Bucks lose, we can't challenge. I didn't know that until the video package, because I've been watching AEW for a bit. So I was really thinking it's a 50-50 chance until that stipulation. So other than that, the match was great. I love how they paid homage
to many tag teams. They did the Hardy spot.
Teams. Yep.
They did the Hardy spot where they did
the
Steiner Bulldog.
Steiner Bulldog. They did 3D from Dudley Boys, and then the one that made me go crazy
was the snapshot from Eminem. They did that too. No.
Oh, I forgot about that. I wish I noticed that.
Yeah, they did the snapshot too, which
I gotta find that now. That's something I should have recognized. No, they did the me in the middle with DIY, and I was like, no.
Oh yes, FTR hit meeting in the middle, the super kick knee strike combo. Yeah.
They even did the whole like arm raise thing. I'm like, no way, buckle to buckle with Oh man, that made me go insane because
And they knew strategically where to put all that. Like all those weren't done in a row. They were strategically placed throughout the match to keep the momentum going. Like they knew doing homages to tag teams of the past or present were gonna get a reaction, so they didn't just blow them all in like one fluid motion. They kind of saved them when each team had the advantage or kind of got the comeback going. Yeah. You know, because the twist of fate into the Swanton was for the Bucks, and then the Bucks hit the snapshot at one point, the Eminem snapshot, where it's like the flapjack into the DDT double combo. Who did the 3D again? Was that the FTR that did the 3D?
It was the Bucks.
It was the Bucks that did the 3D. Yeah.
They did it right before they did the Twist of Fate Swanton Bomb combo.
And then FTR hit the Steiner Bulldog combo, and then it was also FTR that paid homage to DIY, who. Probably before this Bucks match, that was the tag team match that they're probably the most well-known for, was the 2 out of 3 falls in Toronto all those years ago. So, yes, if you haven't seen this match, go watch it now. Do not, I don't need to put that over anymore. This was, as I said, if you didn't think this was the match of the year, then you probably thought it was at least the second best match of the year. And, it was once again the Young Bucks being involved in an AEW World Tag Team title match, and once again being the match of the night at their pay-per-view and being one of the contenders for AEW's match of the year. Fantastic stuff.
I give it 2 thumbs. I forgot to say it, but yeah.
Solid 2 thumbs. Easy 2 thumbs. If not like a 2 thumb and a half, 3.
Yeah, by default, 2 thumbs. Yeah, 2.5 if I had another.
Yeah, if we were going to go over 2.5, right? But yeah, solid 2 thumbs. Like the easiest 2 thumbs you'll ever give. Pretty much. The easiest 2 thumbs ever. Yes, so if you have not watched this match and you want to finish the rest of this review, lovely, finish the rest of us talking, but go watch this if there's anything from this pay-per-view. But you should also be watching, in my opinion, Omega and Paige as well. But, like, if you just wanted to watch one match from the show, what did we think was the best? This one. The tag team title match for sure. Fantastic match. One of the best of the year, in my opinion. And then after which, we go on to the Elite Deletion match. So I think they were just scared of Matt and Sammy actually killing each other live. So they decided to do a Hardy compound pre-tape and post-edit type about. It was an actual old school Impact Broken Hardy compound fight.
Specifically an old school Impact one.
Yeah, it was like the Impact ones.
It didn't have the usual like comedic stuff that we would see from like recent Broken Matt Hardy matches. This is like a Impact Wrestling, like the first final deletion, type of match. It was, but the only thing that was weird was that they did commentary. I feel like they shouldn't have, in my opinion, but it happened and it just felt very.
That was the least of my worries. I personally, for me, I'm kind of getting over this cinematic stuff being done, especially when they're finding new ways to get kind of fans involved in some way or another. So the fact that they did another one. What's that?
I feel like they felt kind of tired of the cinematic stuff too, because it didn't feel as cinematic as the previous
No, but it was still a pre-edit, pre-done video package match, and I've seen a million of them. Now I'm getting really tired of them. And if it was shorter, I would have less of an issue with it. But I felt it went on too long. Myself, personally. I thought it went on too long. So, basically what happened was at the beginning, the whole thing is Sammy's, on the compound. He's looking for Matt in a golf cart. Matt's on the phone to somebody. We don't know who at that time, but it ends up being that he called up Private Party. He's telling them where to meet him on the compound and how to help him out. Sammy ends up seeing what's the new, is it Vanguard 1 still, or does the
I'm not sure. When I saw,
does the drone have a new name now? But anyway, the drone ends up showing up and it gives
Vanguard 1 still.
it shows Matt his hologram and it starts threatening Sammy, and Sammy's kind of ghosted out by this projection of Matt Hardy. And at that point, Sammy, I think Matt ended up being in like a monster truck. I think he showed up in like this big monster truck.
Monster truck.
Matt's there and he's talking shit to Sammy. So Sammy opens up right away by hitting Matt with a garbage can. And he goes for a quick pin because pinfalls are submissions on the compound. And that's when they start brawling through the woods. And then Matt with a suplex on the ground. That must not have felt nice. He ties Sammy up on a tree like as if it's the ring post. They somehow make it to the front lawn. Sammy catches Matt with a few kicks. Goes for a cover. Matt kicks out. They brawl around the property. They brawl by the frickin' water fountain. Sammy tries to drown Matt in the water fountain. But Matt is able to take look like a frickin' mallet or something, and he was able to beat Sammy up with it. Elbows to the head. They stumble around to the ring, the full gear ring that's conveniently on the compound. Matt beats up Sammy, throws him into the ring. Sammy ends up catching Matt with a kick, but then Matt comes back with a side effect inside the ring. Matt takes out a table, slides it into the ring. Sammy's selling this Hardy compound beating. Matt with a power bomb on Sammy through the table, but then, of course, in comes Santana and Ortiz to try and help Sammy out, and they start beating up Matt Hardy after he gets the advantage. But at the same time, we see Private Party show up. They're the people that Matt was talking to on the phone, and they pulled into the compound. Meanwhile, inside the ring, the Inner Circle's beating the shit out of Matt. They're triple teaming him. They're beating him down. Sammy hits Matt with his own finish, the Twist of Fate. And as Sammy goes to hit Matt with some wacky top rope move, Private Party gets in there and starts fighting off Santana and Ortiz. And they do some tag team stuff in the ring. And they start brawling. And then Matt and Sammy end up getting outside the ring. And Matt's got the Roman candle shooting mechanism that had been in previous Hardy compound stuff. He starts shooting the Roman candle, firework things out. And he's shooting them all over the place. You see them shooting behind the ring. Matt's looking around for Sammy. Sammy's also got a Roman candle, and he shoots it off. Matt finds him because he sees Sammy shooting off sparks from far away, and so Matt starts shooting off sparks in his direction. Fireworks are being thrown everywhere. There's still some more tag team stuff going on. It's like Private Party and Santana and Ortiz are working a match, just like as if it was like in a ring. Not on the Hardy compound. They actually get the advantage on Santana and Ortiz. Then Sammy gets all tripped up by getting Roman candles and fireworks thrown at him. Matt just basically catches him off guard, trips him with them, and keeps shooting him with them. Sammy's all mudded up. Matt's beating him up. Matt has the advantage. And at that point, Gangrel shows up with the Hurricane hostage. I kid you not.
That was weird.
He just shows up. He's got the Hurricane captive, and Matt saves Hurricane, and Private Party shows up to beat up Gangrel, and Hurricane kind of asks why Matt's been leaving him hanging, and he said, "Well, I had to get signed first." He's like, "Well, you let me hanging. What's up with that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a good little callback, I suppose, to the Hurricane's character," and they kind of have words, and then Sammy super kicks Matt Hardy, and Hurricane goes to help Matt by hitting a choke slam, but Sammy ends up throwing Hurricane into the River of Reincarnation. I guess it's that body of water that's on the compound. And then immediately after that, Gregory Helms shows up as himself, like an announcer, and then asks Sammy why the fuck he just threw himself into the Lake of Reincarnation. So Sammy just throws regular Gregory Helms with the microphone into the Lake of Reincarnation again. So Gregory Helms gets thrown in there twice. Matt and Sammy try to throw each other into the water, but they don't ever do it. Santana and Ortiz and Private Party are still fighting in the ring. The Hurricane shows up and helps them out, and it's Gangrel and And Santana and Ortiz against Private Party and the Hurricane. They're all fighting around this ring on the Hardy compound. It's wild. And that goes on for a bit. Sammy is now there, and he's starting to run off, and he sees Matt Hardy, and they end up brawling into like this. It looks like this warehouse on the Hardy compound, and Matt ends up getting the door locked. It's just the two of them in there, and they beat each other up. They slam each other into the door. There's also a ring inside this warehouse, I might want to point out. They have another ring. There's 2 rings in the Hardy compound. I shouldn't be surprised about that.
In the garage or whatever.
Yeah, it was like in the area where they lock the warehouse where they lock themselves in.
There's always been a ring there.
Yeah, well, they had 2 rings because there was also the ring that was just in the woods or in the backyard on the acres.
Whenever there's a match at the Hardy compound, it's always that same spot for the woods. I don't know why, but it's always there.
So Sammy ends up taking the ring rope off the turnbuckle, and he uses it to try and smother Matt. He tries to choke him out with it, and Matt seemingly is going out, and then Sammy lets him go when he thinks Matt has passed out. He sets him up on a table. There's a ladder conveniently inside this ring. Sammy scales to the top of the ladder, and he gives the broken sign, gives Matt the swanton through the table, tries to pin Matt. Matt kicks out, but Sammy very much has the advantage. Then Matt is able to counter Sammy's side effect attempt into a twist of fate. Matt spears Sammy off of the ring apron through a table that was also beside this ring at ringside inside the warehouse. And now Matt's absolutely furious. He sees Sammy stumbling around. He chokes him a bit. He beats him down some more. He picks up this chair that's beside Sammy. He throws it in Sammy's face, as careless as Sammy did to him on Dynamite about 2 months ago. And when Sammy's pretty much dead, he puts Sammy's head on a chair that's close by. He lifts up the chair that he threw at him, and he gives Sammy the concerto and pins him, hopefully to end this feud for good. I can't imagine keeping it going now. That was about as definitive as you can get.
I think that was symbolism, because that's what ended Matt Hardy's WWE run, was a concerto.
Yeah,
from
Orton. Yeah, so that was it. Matt Hardy and Private Party end up taking Sammy's corpse and fucking putting it in a garbage bin, and then they put it into the truck where Senor Benjamin is driving, and he drives Sammy to the dump or wherever he decided to make him obsolete, as he's been deleted. And that was that. Again, I thought there was some really entertaining moments of it. I did think it was a bit too long for my liking. If they would have shaved some time off of it, like, don't do so much of the tag team stuff. If you would have hit all the points and got the right cameos and didn't drag things out a little too long, I might have liked it better. But I personally thought it went on a little bit too long. There was some stuff I liked about it, but I did think it started to drag at points. And I'm kind of over these vignette matches. What do you think, Gabe?
I personally did not like, I guess, Private Party and what was it? Pride and Powerful.
Yeah, Santana and Ortiz. Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I know it's no DQ. It's in Matt Hardy's compound and all that stuff. So, but still, like, I feel like we didn't really need them to.
No, we didn't.
Match. It just didn't feel like they should have been in there. Because I was just really confused on why they're there. Like, were they involved in the feud at all? I mean, I know.
Well, Private Party, Matt has taken them under his wing to mentor them because he's a tag team specialist. So he's been kind of like their on-screen mentor on Dynamite. And then Santana and Ortiz are in Sammy's stable. So, but I don't think they've been very much involved in the feud itself until this.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I thought. So,
I don't think they have been very much at all until this.
So in the feud, they weren't really involved, so they weren't really needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Gangrel and Hurricane was just a wacky addition, but that's what you expect from a match at the Hardy compound. You just expect, like, oh, there's gonna be a cameo from some yesteryear,
Mm-hmm.
wrestler. So that was a welcome, like, addition to the match. Unlike Private Party and Pride and Powerful, but when they were fighting Sammy and Matt, I just feel like I don't know, like you said, it's been overdone, these like cinematic matches, and it didn't even feel that cinematic because we had commentary, and the commentary just kind of made it feel kind of weird because they were confused, and I want to feel confused in my own, like, with my own words, because it's a Matt Hardy like match. You're supposed to have your thoughts, spill out your mouth, and just to have the commentators do the same thing, it just feels less special. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I see it with commentary being on. That was my main negative with this match. But I mean, I guess I hope it's over, especially with the concerto, at the end.
I
So
can't imagine it going on after this. He got deleted, for crying out loud. Like,
it should be it for, especially, I feel like Matt should just rarely wrestle after what happened, the last pay-per-view. So I think this should be it. The match overall, I guess it was a meh. Like, I didn't
yeah,
really
I mean,
feel
I liked
anything
it enough to
towards
give
it.
it the flimsiest thumbs up you've ever given. Like, it's the flimsiest
Yeah,
one.
it was the Orange Cassidy thumbs up for me. So
Yeah, like at best, at best. Because there
so
was some stuff that was entertaining about it. I just think it's like it
oh, of
was like
course.
another, it was another cinematic match at a year full of them on a pay per view that didn't need one with everything else that was going on it, and it just went on. I felt it was just too long. If they'd shaved some time off of it, I might have liked it a little better. But it just, if to me, it's just one too many, and it felt like it took up a lot of time.
It did take
And
a long time to, yeah, I gotta agree
and
with that.
that's that. And this is where, this is probably my low point of the show here, is following that tag title match with this, and the match we're going to talk about next. So after,
The one more thing, a really small thing though. The Lake of Reincarnation. There's always at least one person thrown in there, and Gregory Helms, he's been thrown in there before. Like, and this is, like, I think his second, or I don't know if it's his
well,
third. But I know
technically
this
he
is.
jumped in there twice because he threw in the Hurricane and then he threw in Helms the announcer. So it's
Well,
like
I
he
mean, in a match, this isn't his first time being in that river, so it's just
maybe
when he went.
for some audiences it is. Maybe not a lot of people watching AEW watched Impact or
Well, here's the
whatever.
sad thing though. When he was first thrown in the river, he came back as Shane from 3 Count in WCW. So I think that was the best. The best, like, you can't top that if you're gonna be thrown into the Lake of Reincarnation. He just comes back as a Gregory Helms interviewer. I'm like, that's kind
Yeah.
of lame, but I guess it's a good throwback. But other than that, I feel like if they were gonna throw someone in, maybe they could have thrown in, I guess, Pride and Powerful, like call them LAX again or something. But I don't know.
Well, that
It's
that was that they were the LEX and Impact, So
yeah.
like,
So
yeah, it was what it was, and again, it wasn't the again. I've seen cinematic ones that were worse than that, like the swamp fight and a couple ones that were a little too overindulgent. But this one was just, with the way it was placed. Maybe I would have also liked it better if it went on earlier, but just where it was placed, I didn't care for it falling that tag match, and it just went on a little too long. But it still wasn't the thing I disliked the most on the show, but it began it, because now we're going to go on to the next match, which, yep.
I thought the Hardy match was your least favorite when I was guessing. Like, oh, if you didn't like the
Nope.
match, it must be the Hardy match.
No, we're going on to what I like the least on this show, and I'm sure I'm probably the only one of this opinion. But we're moving on to Chris Jericho versus MJF. And so the storyline has been pretty good. And the storyline's all about MJF wanting to join Chris Jericho's elusive inner circle. And he wants to join because they're the super group of AEW. And he knows that his career his back can be watched at all times. And he thinks he could use the collective to better his own career. So he wants to join it. But Chris Jericho wants to know that this kid has what it takes. And that he deserves to be in this group. He may like Max. He thinks he's got a lot of potential, but does he belong in the inner circle? Can he prove he belongs in the inner circle? So Jericho challenged MJF to a match at this pay-per-view, and the stipulation being was that if MJF could beat Jericho, then he would be able to join the inner circle as a part of beating him. So, what actually was kind of cool was at the beginning, the lights went out, and you see this light-up jacket. And then I knew it was MJF right away. I knew that the lights were gonna turn on. It was gonna be him. And lo and behold, it was it. He came out and he had this kind of light up robe on to kind of parody Jericho's old entrance from WWE. He came out, kissed the ring, all that good stuff. Chris Jericho comes out to Judas, and he's people are chanting along with his song, and he's pretty much, because he's working MJF, he became the de facto babyface of the match. I guess it just he came out smiling. He was happy that people were cheering his song. He did some babyface stuff. He fired up some babyface moves and all that. But I found that this match was kind of slow. I thought that, I just think that, the guys didn't have a whole lot of good chemistry with each other, because you got two heels working, and I just don't think it was just, at that point in the show, we'd seen so much stuff, and the basic stuff they tried to do was just people were kind of tired, and I just don't think that they gelled particularly well. I just, there was some decent stuff, the fact that Chris knew to work babyface was good. When they exchanged strikes and chops, the crowd were into his stuff. He did his lion salt and all that. But I'll run down the match a bit. So basically what goes on is that MJF decides to work over Chris's arm. He had done kind of he tripped Jericho and made him land on his shoulder. He kind of stomped his arm a bit. He was doing this so he could set up for the Salt of the Earth, which is the Fujiwara armbar. So he's going for it, but Jericho's a veteran. He knows how to block it. So he's able to get out of that, and he tries to get the walls, does Chris Jericho, but MJF battles it out, but Jericho ends up locking him in the submission anyway. MJF fights to the ropes, and there's a breakup, but Chris Jericho knows he's in control. After this, MJF kind of hits Jericho with a flying knee on the ring apron, and then what he does the springboard where he brings the opponent's face from the ropes into the ground. It's he spikes the dude. I forget what it's one of his transitional moves.
I don't know the name of it.
You've seen it though. It's the seesaw move there. He jumps and drives the opponent's head into the mat.
Yeah, it's a draping pile.
Yeah, driver. And so he gets a 2 count for that. Struggles to get to his feet, but in doing so, he gives Jericho enough time to hit the code breaker. That's not enough to put MJF away. He kicks out. Jericho with a small package. MJF is able to kick out of that. Jericho goes for the Judas effect, but MJF is able to counter into the Salt of the Earth. But Jericho's the veteran and hangs on and ends up making it to the bottom rope to break the submission. Wardlow comes out, and he kind of tosses the ring and he distracts the referee, and MJF goes for the ring. But at the same time, Jake Hager gives Jericho his Sting-esque baseball bat, but then MJF pulls a card out of Eddie Guerrero's book and decides to just take a flat back bump and lay in the middle, and the referee turns around and sees Jericho red-handed with the baseball bat, and she's about to disqualify him, but he's begging off and saying, no, I didn't hit this guy, he's lying, blah, 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 blah. And in all the commotion, the referee doesn't decide to disqualify Jericho, but in this time, MJF schoolboys Chris, has a handful of tights and does the heel handful of tights pin on Jericho. He out-heels the heel who's playing the babyface in the match, which I guess was decent enough for the finish, but that was pretty much, I guess, the only decent highlight of it all was maybe the way they did the end there. And then Jericho did pull out a Frankensteiner. He did do that in the middle of the match.
That's what everyone was popping for.
Yeah, I mean, he had to do it, but, it's he didn't really have to do it, but he felt he had to, and it was one highlight that I remembered. And then, of course, Jericho hugs, and they have this big hug, and Jericho announces MJF and Wardlow are now part of the Inner Circle. Jake Hager and Wardlow, before this announcement, are staring daggers through each other's, but then they amicably raise both of the hands of the members that they represent, and MJF is now officially a member of the Inner Circle. I just think Chris looked really slow. I mean, the guy's 50. I just think I've never seen him look kind of slower than he did in this match. It looked like there were times where he's a little blown up in certain spots, and they really didn't do all that much. I just think Jericho looked kind of bad in this match compared to how we usually see him moving in the ring. Maybe I don't know what's going on. Maybe the conditioning just isn't where it is with everything going on.
Had a little too much of the bubbly.
Yeah, maybe he had a little too much of the bubbly. But I thought Chris looked really slow. I thought he did not look in the shape he usually does for these matches. And I thought, like, just with them trying to do their heel shtick, I know Chris kind of worked babyface to a degree, but, like, to both be heels and then try to make MJF the bigger heel, I think the styles clashed. It might have been better if they went on earlier in the show after we didn't see a million moves being done and a lot of more, high risk, high offense and, tighter stuff. Maybe if it was earlier in the show and not the penultimate, I might have enjoyed it better. But after the Elite Deletion followed up with this, I thought this was kind of a blah match. But obviously you must have liked it better than I did, Gabe. So I would like to hear your analysis of
did I
this
like it better?
I don't know. It just you or do you think it was a weaker match for the show? It's up to you.
I'm not gonna lie. I agree with everything you said, but it wasn't the worst match in the show. So here's.
I was more into Shida and Nyla than this thing. So.
This was, to me, I think I was more into this match because of the story, I guess. Because, I know I have not been watching AEW as much as I should have, but this match, I already knew some of the story. Like, he's gonna be in Inner Circle if he wins MJF, and I don't know. It was just very story driven, this match, instead of the moves and all that. I know Chris did look a bit worn out. He's a former AEW champion, and that roll up, like, Chris didn't even give to kick out at all when he lost. But maybe that was intentional. It's because maybe he wanted MJF to win to join Inner Circle, and the whole stare down between Jake and Wardlow. People were saying that's a story in the making, that there's so many theories.
Oh, long term, I expect this to be a very interesting angle, and I don't think the quality of the angle is in jeopardy because of this maybe mad performance. No. But the match didn't click with me. Is all I'm gonna say, right? Like, the match just didn't click with me. And that's subjective.
I agree. But I was more, I guess, since it's both. I don't know. I think I was more into this because it's MJF and Chris Jericho, two superstars who are charismatic and who are a lot of people invested in. But I guess that's personally why I think this is a better match than the women's match. But was it a bad match? Yeah. Was this the worst Chris has looked? Maybe. But it wasn't the worst match in my opinion. So.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just kind of there. Like, I wouldn't say like the work. I don't think the work was like all that bad, but like compared to everything else I'd seen, I thought it was kind of subpar. So that's like a thumbs in the middle for me at best. Like thumbs in the middle, That's all I'll give it.
This match was I guess a thumb in the middle too.
You're not even gonna give it a flimsy thumbs up for the story?
I'm gonna just give it a thumbs in the middle overall. I don't want to because a match is, there's a story already in a match, so that's what wrestling matches are.
Yeah.
Tell the story. So
yeah,
it was a half or a thumbs in the middle. So.
Alrighty, so that's that. That was the penultimate, but then I think the show improved going into the main event. So we will talk about the main event. The main event is an I Quit match for the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley defending against Eddie Kingston. Eddie comes out. He's all business. Moxley gets his usual walk through the crowd type entrance and
the old style.
Yeah, I love his entrance. I love his theme music. Everything about Moxley works. I don't know.
Moxley is a star. Holy crap.
He's a superstar. He's one of the best promos in the business. His ring work is he never worked like that as Dean Ambrose, man. I never remember him having matches of this quality in WWE, but since he left, he's fucking motivated and he's putting in the best work he's done.
His ring style is a good best of both worlds with his Dean Ambrose character and his CZW Jon Moxley before he signed with FCW. So
yeah,
that's
I think he's pulling more books out of his old indie. But I think he's using some Japan Strong style shit in his approach too. He's got he's trying to be like the American Suzuki or Obviously not as intense, but nobody's that intense. But he's like trying to, he's trying to add some like strong style shit to his resume as well, and it's been working. Like he's got something. He's got an amalgamation of different things he wanted to do or he wants to do, and he makes it work every time he goes out there. So
he's been doing MMA, correct? Like,
yes, he's been training in jiu-jitsu or something like that.
Yeah, and I can tell he's been like putting himself through like his ring style is more I guess mat wrestling and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's been doing submission training and all that stuff, and you could tell because his grapples look fucking they're sleek, man. They look good. And so it starts off, they start brawling, and then Eddie Kingston hits a big overhead belly to belly suplex right off the bat. Moxley follows up with a big dive to the outside, and then he just throws a chair in Kingston's face, throws him into the guardrail. It's all Moxley at this point. He's bending Kingston's digits back, trying to, hurt him. He rakes at the wrist, suplex on the concrete behind the guardrails. Kingston is selling. Moxley continues to beat him up. He tries to go for the choke So, for those of you who don't remember, there was they wanted to do Lance Archer and Moxley early on, and then Archer was around people who had COVID or something, so he got pulled from a show, and they needed to fill in a world title match, and they just kind of put Eddie Kingston and Moxley in the ring for like a throwaway Dynamite. And in the match, Moxley used a bulldog choke to make Kingston pass out, and he retained the title. And in the build-up to this, after Moxley defeated Archer to retain the title on the Dynamite Anniversary show, Kingston was talking about how, I passed out, you never made me tap out, I never tapped, blah, blah, blah. And then he attacked Moxley with his own, because he's got like a spinning elbow type move too. That's like kind of like a setup to his finish or whatever. It's kind of like the Judas effect, but it's like a spinning back fist, and he locked Moxley in the bulldog choke after he had successfully defended the title against Archer and made him pass out. And that's when Moxley's like, well, you say you never tapped, so we're gonna do this I Quit match for the world title, and when I make you say I quit, there'll be no doubt who the world champion was at this whole time. So that's what led into this match, and they cut great promos on each other. Kingston talking about how, his mother never got to be a grandmother or have a sister-in-law because he's been so focused on his wrestling career to get to this moment, and Moxley saying, like, I was always supposed to take care of you. I made a promise to your mother that now I'm going to have to break because we're going to do this I Quit match, and it was just great stuff. I suggest anybody to watch the back and forth promo they did on the Go Home show before this pay-per-view. It was great stuff. So Moxley's trying to get this bulldog choke on again, and Kingston is doing everything he can to fight it. Moxley went for it a few times in this match. They brawl around ringside still. Moxley gets thrown into another guardrail. Kingston goes under the ring for some plunder, and he starts chopping Moxley. He throws Moxley into the post. I believe Moxley ends up... so he throws him into the post. Again, Kingston goes for some plunder. Throws some chairs into the ring. At this point, Kingston is the first man to be into the ring at this point. Moxley is bleeding from being posted. And Moxley also brought in a barbed wire baseball bat, and he uses it to get the advantage. He hits Eddie in the stomach, hits him across the back with the barbed wire. This is how Moxley gets the advantage. He looks like a killer. He's bleeding from the forehead. He starts, of course, doing the old Terry Funk, Mick Foley thing where you start grating the barbed wire bat across your opponent's head, and Eddie's just in agony. He goes down after, Mox stops grating him like a thing of cheese. And now Eddie is now beginning to bleed from this assault that Moxley is putting on him. And Moxley goes to hit him with the barbed wire bat. Kingston ends up ducking out and hits a few side suplexes to gain the advantage. Kingston gets a steel chair, throws it at Moxley's head. Moxley bleeding all over the place. Kingston and Moxley then start trading these vicious uppercuts in the ring. They start pounding, like just trading shots with each other. Kingston gets pissed, starts choking Moxley. Then he gets up and he positions the barbed wire baseball bat, and he throws Moxley's sternum first into it, hits him with a chair, throws the chair into his face. Now Eddie's going nuts. He, like a crazy bastard, rips the barbed wire off of the bat and surrounds his fist in it. So his fist has now got the barbed wire around it. Now he starts raining down barbed wire fist shots on Moxley. Moxley's bleeding even more. It's gruesome. It's brutal. Moxley's selling. Kingston's just a beast. Gets him into Kimura. Tries to get Moxley to verbally quit while in the submission. Moxley fights and fights and fights. He won't give up. He bites Kingston's knee. Kingston takes exception to this. Continues to do big shots to Moxley. Gets him into the corner. Starts choking him in the corner with his foot. And Moxley's now out on his feet. But Moxley's able to do a big counter. And he suplexes Kingston on 2 chairs that are like right beside each other. Bump looked vicious. It just looks like it sucks. There's no good way to take that no matter who you are. So Kingston is probably selling his back to some extent, probably really hurting. But he goes to the outside, and now he's got the thumbtacks. He's got a bag full of thumbtacks. He dumps them out, spreads them all over the ring. And Kingston tries to obviously put Moxley into the thumbtacks, and Moxley fights out of it. Hits a lariat to gain the advantage. Kingston's now in trouble, and now it looks like he's going to be thrown into the tacks that he himself brought into the ring. But Moxley ends up getting belly-to-belly suplexed by Eddie Kingston onto these thumbtacks. And Moxley has been pierced. And so that was something. Moxley is selling, being in the tacks. He's hurting. And Kingston goes out and he finds a bottle of rubbing alcohol. He goes to Dr. Sampson.
Oh my God.
And he takes the rubbing alcohol from Dr. Sampson and he brings it in the ring, and they do a big close-up on it. And the reason that this is so gruesome is because Moxley has a bunch of cuts on him from the barbed wire and the thumbtacks, but Kingston doesn't use it right away. Instead, he goes over, he kind of he hits again Moxley with the barbed wire some more. He starts stomping on his balls. He literally spread eagles Moxley and steps on his nether regions, just vicious like a heel. And then when he feels he has Moxley incapacitated enough, he goes over to the rubbing alcohol, the rubbing alcohol, and he pours it all over Moxley's punctured back. So the rubbing alcohol going into fresh wounds on the back and torso of Jon Moxley, and he's selling it something fierce. Because I imagine that probably did not feel too good. It might have been. If it was just for the visual, it worked, because you have the psychological expectation of what that's going to do. Could have just been water, right? Could have been, but we don't know.
I hope it was just water.
The visual was enough, right? It was added to the drama, because you know that like any wound touching rubbing alcohol fucking stings. And
I was in a wrestling match. My opponent, his gimmick is Febreze, and he used it in my eyes to do a wrestling move. So like it was water in the end, but
yeah, it was gimmicked.
I just hope it was water.
Yeah, because really that would fucking if it wasn't, it would sting like a bitch, pretty much. And he sold it like it was. So
knowing Moxley, I feel like he would have done it. Like he's already taking like thumbtacks and barbed wire. I feel like don't. I'm not gonna bitch about it. Give me some fucking alcohol. I'll do it. I feel like he really took the alcohol if it wasn't gimmicked.
Yeah, and then Kingston obviously has the advantage at this point. Moxley's in all kinds of agony. He's in all kinds of trouble. Kingston's talking a whole bunch of shit. At this point, Kingston goes back outside. He grabs the barbed wire that he was using before, and instead of using the barbed wire, though, he just says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna beat you like you beat me," and he puts Moxley in the bulldog choke that Moxley was trying to get earlier in the match, and the same bulldog choke that Moxley had beaten him on television a month prior. But Moxley fights and fights and fights. Eddie's trying to keep the submission on, but Moxley just will not give up. Terry funking it up the whole way. But Kingston's trying to choke him out. He's trying. Moxley's just avoiding the full pressure of the submission. Kingston then gets a counter, and now Moxley's got a bulldog choke on Kingston. And then Moxley uses it to his advantage to power Eddie up, and he hits him with a pile driver. After this, Moxley is able to hit the paradigm shift, but he knows that he can't get the pin. So he goes over to the barbed wire that Eddie Kingston had taken off of the barbed wire bat earlier, and he wraps it around his own arm. And now he's talking to Eddie Kingston and talking shit to him. So Kingston flips him the bird. And at that point, he uses a bulldog choke on Kingston with barbed wire on his arm. And the barbed wire is like meshed across Eddie Kingston's bloody face. And he's being choked at the same time that the shards are in his fucking face. And eventually the ref's begging him to quit. Eddie doesn't want to. But then he realizes this motherfucker's going to choke me out. And I'm going to do bad damage to my face if I stay in this fucking thing. I quit. And he quit. And Moxley released the hold. And that was the end of a vicious, brutal fucking war. This is a main event you would never see in the WWE. Ever. You'd never see this in today's WWE product. It felt different. It felt like a war that was from the fucking like 80s or 90s. It felt so old school. There was a deathmatch quality to it, but unlike the Lights Out match with Omega last year, I don't feel like it ever went too overboard. There was some stuff that was a little brutal, but I felt it didn't really go overboard. Like they treaded a fine line. I thought everything brutal that happened served its dramatic purpose and didn't go too far. I thought it was so different, and I thought this was a great match. Was it the best match of the show? No. But I thought it was a great match to finish this pay-per-view, and it did not feel like an underwhelming main event to me. I thought it delivered in spades. What did you think, Gabe?
I think that this match, you hit it right on the mark, in my opinion. Like it was a nice war, in my opinion, but I feel like they should have, like I said earlier in the beginning of the call, like they should have built this up more. Everything you felt everything that they went through. The video package really helped me understand, like, if I've never watched any of Jon Moxley or Eddie Kingston's programs before, I felt connected to these characters. Like, oh, the whole like granddaughters and daughter-in-law line that really struck me in all. So yeah, these two are a great talk. They're both good in the mic, good in the ring. There's nothing to complain about this match other than it's just too early in my opinion. But great match. I don't think it should have closed the match. It still should have been a tag team match, but it was still a good, solid main event.
I don't know. Like it's as I said, like it wasn't as great as the Bucks match, but I didn't think it was an underwhelming main event at all. I thought it was a fucking. They told a hell of a story in there. They did some brutal shit you would never see anywhere else, and it worked. And I loved it personally for what it was. It was different. And I don't think they went too far. There was some brutal shit, but I don't think they went CZW level fucking hard on it. You know, they tailored a fine line. They tailored a fine line.
I think the Omega Moxley match from last year
was worse. I thought it was worse. Yeah,
that one
was too much. It was too much deathmatchy shit with glass and all the fucking bullshit. But there was some brutal shit, but they towed a fine line, and I didn't feel like they went overboard. And I thought it was still. For what it was, I thought it was a great match because it was a brawl you wouldn't see anywhere else. And I found that to be a positive. I thought this was a great main event. I give it 2 thumbs up. So, for those of you who've been keeping count, that was, 4 matches of the 8 that I gave, 2 thumbs up to? What can I say about any other fucking show this year where I've done that? You know? This is a hell of a show, man. This is a hell of a fucking show. It was a fantastic pay-per-view. What did you think about the card from top to bottom, Gabe? Any final analysis of Full Gear 2020?
Like I said before, I really didn't mind or didn't care about the card. I mean, like, one match other than that, I feel like, it's going to be another great AEW pay-per-view because you already know with AEW, their pay-per-views are going to be at least great. So, in my mind, I was like, it's just going to be another great pay-per-view, but it was more than that. We've expressed it to the fullest we can because these matches were more than we can express at the moment, to be honest. Because man, that tag team match still has me by, I don't know. I'm losing my words right now because that tag team match is still, I think it could be the match of the year. I'm trying to think of what could be some 2020 matches.
The only one I like better than that match was Paige and Omega's tag title defense against the Bucks. It's the only one that's better. The only one. But think about it. Like even if you rank the FTR one over it, AEW's 2 tag title matches from pay-per-view were the 2 best matches of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they still have a right to a tag title match being their best match of the year. You know, if it's not Bucks,
let's take out the Bucks Page Omega match.
Oh, then yeah, nothing. Like if we're talking post-pandemic,
yeah.
Oh, then yeah, this is definitely the best match since the post-pandemic. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's definitely the best one.
The year, those two would be neck and neck for match.
Again, like it depends on how much you liked Walter and Dragunov. That one was also fucking fantastic too, right?
I told myself I was gonna watch it after the pay-per-view, but I was too tired, and my friend wants to watch it with me. So once she's free and once I'm free, then we'll get to watch it, and I'll give you my thoughts one day.
If you want to know me, I loved Walter and Dragunov too, but I still like this Bucks match better. So I've seen both of them.
Interesting. Well, I'll keep that in mind. But yes, this match, every match surprised me in one way or another. Especially the John Silver match. That still has.
That was definitely the most surprising thing for me, for blowing my expectations.
Personal second favorite match. Yeah, every match was great except for one match. Actually, no, 3 matches in mind. The worst one was the women's match.
Again, I wouldn't call like again for you the women's match, but like for you it was just more like just an average bout on a show full of great matches. Just a couple average bouts thrown in there. You know what happens.
Here's another reason why I think it's the worst. It killed the mood for me. Like after what match was before it? It was the
Cody and Darby was before the women, and then the Bucks were after them. So they kind of stalled your momentum a bit, but then the Bucks brought it right back.
Yeah, the Bucks did bring it back. But then again, I think the Matt Hardy match was like I can't tell. I think it's tied for second worst with that and Jericho MJF. I can't tell who was worse, but they both had their ups in my opinion. I can't really say any ups for the women's match at all. But that was my take on the card, I guess. I'd like to give this pay-per-view a good 3.5.
I'm giving it a full 2 thumbs up. Even though I found the Elite Deletion went on a little too long and I couldn't get into Jericho versus MJF all that much. I at least thoroughly enjoyed everything else to a decent degree. Even though those kind of 2 little hiccups happened, the main event was great enough to kind of wash the taste out of my mouth of them. And everything else I thoroughly enjoyed. So I'd say this is for me, I give this show 2 thumbs up entirely. And to me, it's without question the best pay-per-view done after COVID. The only show that I would say is comparable to it is TakeOver Portland, which had an actual fucking crowd. So that's not as much of a good comparison, but actually makes Full Gear pretty decent because... Or actually, really, it kind of makes it overachieve because it didn't have that strength to it, and it still blew my socks off, you know. So I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I give it a full 2 thumbs up. You give it a solid 1.5 though.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was. That's already a good pay-per-view. If you're gonna impress me more than I thought, then it's, in my opinion, already a great pay-per-view. It's just there were low moments, and every pay-per-view has their low moments, but these low moments were enough to not give it a 2 thumbs for me. So it was still a solid 1.5.
The fact that I thought 4 matches on the show were great, which is like 50% of the card, and there were still ones that I thought were good that weren't as great. Like, to me, the very good to great outranged the couple hiccups. So the couple hiccups didn't fucking fuck with my rating all that much. So I love this show. I would say anybody go out and watch it. I would say it was the best pay-per-view AEW's done all year, and that includes Revolution, which had a fucking regular crowd, and it included Double or Nothing, which I thought was a great fucking, as good of a pandemic show as you maybe could possibly do in this climate. And then they ended up topping themselves, because I wasn't the biggest fan of All Out. I thought that was the worst pay-per-view they'd ever did, the one in September. I was not. I would have given that one, I thought it was good, but it wasn't anything great. And so when All Out was the last one, I thought this was about 10 steps up from All Out. This gets a glowing review from me. I love this fucking show. And so, I guess we move on to the cheapest of plugs at that point, right? If you're done with your Full Gear analysis, we can move on to the closing segment of this here podcast.
Sir,
Floor is yours, Gabe.
And I'm trying to think, what is there to plug? Cause lately, I don't know if you've noticed, but my YouTube channel, I
I
kind of
haven't.
restarted it.
My
Yeah, I
YouTube channel's
restarted
been
it.
stagnant for like a month now because of my university workload. So I hear the struggle, my dude.
Yeah, we've been doing our own personal stuff, but we're still able to find the time to do wrestling. I appreciate, you Braden so much for having me still on this show. Finding
Always a
time out of your
pleasure.
day and out of my day, it's awesome. But yeah, my YouTube channel has been I restarted it and I really don't know what I'm gonna do. At the beginning I said that I want to do more with filming or music, or I don't know yet, because I have all the tools that I can to make a great content. I just don't know what to do. So for now, I guess just stick to my YouTube channel. I renamed it though. It's no longer Nozid. It's now Gab. It's just
Hmm.
GAB. And now, but I still have the Gabe Nozid Wrestling channel. It's now just Gabe Nozid, no longer Nozid Wrestling. It's just revamped to Gabe Nozid, and I still have all the interviews I've done and podcasts with wrestlers in the local DMV area here. So yeah, that's just stick to those YouTube channels for any other updates. I mean, then again, I have my social medias at Gabe Nozid, but then again, I don't really post any news there. It's just more about my social life. Other than that, just keep sticking it here at Apron Bumps, because who knows it? Gabe knows it.
So that's it for this episode, and if you have listened to us on Anchor, then you might want to know the other Anchor platforms that we are distributed across. So Anchor's got affiliate platforms that they also release our podcast to for us, that wonderful, wonderful little podcast platform that is Anchor. I almost called it Acorn. Jesus, I've been talking a
Heard
lot tonight.
Acorn.
Yeah, I did say it. Anchor! Anyway, so where you can also listen to us that is affiliated with Anchor, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Copy RSS, and of course my personal platform of them all, Spotify. We are available on all of those platforms as of now. That's what Anchor distributes us to. And if you just keep listening to us on whatever platform you enjoy, and whichever platform you happen to find us on, if you want to keep listening to us on that, keep doing so, because we will be coming back to you, hopefully on Survivor Series weekend. Hopefully we do some predictions and review for that show, though it's looking to be just like a filler Raw versus SmackDown show. The build's not all that great, but it is a big four, and I did say I do big four for WWE. And then after that would be the last takeover show that NXT plans to do in the first weekend of December. And also, if you happen to be watching the video form of this podcast on YouTube and you enjoy what you've seen and heard, give a little click on that subscribe button on the Bracer YouTube channel. We'll be back later this month with some Survivor Series coverage in terms of predictions and a review. So from me, from Gabe, and from our missing comrade Brandon, who wasn't available tonight, we are going to Spanish fly on out of here. Have a good one, folks.